A strange shiver ran down Linda's spine when the World Tree Goddess referred to him with that title. Chosen hero, to be called such by the mother of all things, the very will of the world itself. It was both humbling and electrifying. Lifting his chin, Linda looked up at the woman before him. No, the divine being. Trisha, the World Tree Goddess, stood barefoot on living moss, her emerald hair flowing like cascading vines, hands elegantly folded like a highborn lady presiding over all creation. Her presence exuded an innate serenity, radiant and unreachable, as if the winds themselves dared not stir in her presence. Her form, impossibly graceful and abundant, radiated maternal warmth, the kind that could cradle nations to sleep. Linda's thoughts, however, were far less sacred. Too big, like twin divine fruits, perfect and impossible. If this had been Earth, he would have cried silicone. But here, it was another world. Over the top was normal. Quickly, he tore his gaze away. Any longer, and his body might embarrass him. He coughed, straightened up, and asked, "Lady Trisha, I have a question." She nodded, calm and composed. As a chosen hero summoned by the gods of the divine realm, what happens if I obtain another hero's stone inside the World Tree secret realm? Her answer came with a gentle smile. There is no need for concern. The hero stone will not overwrite your class. Instead, it will be absorbed, converted into raw magic, and strengthen your body. Gather as many as you can. They will serve you well. I see, Linda replied thoughtfully. Then, may I be bold and ask for more assistance? To be frank, I don't feel remotely prepared to face the Demon King. Trisha's eyebrows lifted slightly, her lips parting in surprise. It had been many ages since anyone dared make such a request of her. You're asking me for more help? She asked, voice soft with disbelief. He had already received the sacred skill blessing of the World Tree Goddess, a gift that countless heroes would kill to obtain. And yet, he wanted more? I'm sorry, chosen hero, she said after a pause, but I cannot offer you further power. The 10,000 heroes' stones scattered through the World Tree are already the maximum assistance I am allowed to provide. The balance between planes must not be broken. All I can do is observe and bless your journey. Linda sighed, disappointment flashing in his eyes. Then, almost jokingly, he added, well then, perhaps we can trade. I happen to have a spare goddess. Would you consider exchanging places with her? He grinned. I think you'd be a better asset in fighting the Demon King. Trisha stared at him, stunned into silence. Her voice caught awkwardly in her throat. Chosen hero, that won't do. For the first time in eons, the will of the world faltered emotionally. Linda chuckled. Worth a shot. In that case, one last question. His smile faded, replaced with gravity. Do you know where my sister, Lin Shi, is? Trisha's serene expression grew solemn. For a moment, the winds ceased and all was still. I cannot tell you, she finally said, but I can tell you this. The answer you seek lies on the fourth layer of the World Tree. She extended her hand gently, and her voice began to fade like a breeze through leaves. Advance, chosen hero. Conquer the trials of the World Tree secret realm. The truth you seek waits ahead. And with that, she vanished. Lin Da's vision dimmed. The divine presence evaporated, and he found himself back in the Adventurers Guild, kneeling before the statue of the World Tree. But her voice echoed in his heart, stirring something long dormant. The fourth layer, she's really there. After 3 years of aimless searching, he finally had a direction, a clue to Lin Shi's disappearance. The pounding of his heart quickened. His goal was now clearer than ever. But just as he turned to leave, Trisha's voice whispered once more. Chosen hero, one last thing. Do not let anyone know your true identity. If word spreads, it will bring ruin. I understand, Linda replied silently. Among the Demon King's legions were creatures with terrifying powers, masters of hypnosis, soul interrogation, and deceit. Even if he confided in trusted allies, the risk was too great. Silence was his only shield. When no further words came, Linda assumed she was gone. He returned to Kaphne with the bucket of hot water. The goddess in training gave him a long, narrowed stare. "Where did you sneak off to?" "Fetching water," he replied a little too quickly. Kaphne's eyes flicked to the statue of Trisha behind him. "You saw her, didn't you?" Linda winced internally. "You're my hero. You're supposed to pray to me, not go canoodling with some barefoot forest hag." She was loud. Thankfully, the square was mostly empty at this hour, and anyone within earshot probably thought she was drunk, which she was. Before she could start another divine lecture, Linda shoved the cup into her hands. Warm water spilled down her neck and into the valley of her chest. Kaphne hiccuped, blinking slowly, utterly unaware of the disheveled state she was in, or that her shoulder was slipping out of her robe. "Save the worshipping for home," Linda muttered, hoisting her onto his back. "If a Demon Realm spy hears this, I'm done for." They arrived back at the apartment around 1 a.m. He dropped Kaphne onto the couch like a sack of potatoes. She muttered something about justice before rolling over, face down in a pile of pillows. "She'll be fine," Linda murmured. He hoped she wouldn't slow him down tomorrow during the monster hunts. But sleep didn't come easily. His mind buzzed, excited, alert. Instead of wasting the night, he sat down cross-legged and began to meditate. It was time to claim his daily experience. His body settled into a familiar rhythm, and memories of cultivation filled his thoughts. He hadn't done this since leaving the party, but came back naturally. Draw in ambient magic, refine it, channel it inward, toward the spiritual core. This was the heart of all power, battle energy, magic, everything. And within the spiritual world of each adventurer was a symbolic totem that marked their class. Linda closed his eyes. Darkness surrounded him. Above, suspended in the void, a diamond-shaped green crystal pulsed gently, his core. Wrapped around it like a cosmic serpent, a vast, phantom Ouroboros slumbered. As he meditated, one of the stars surrounding the core shimmered softly, the eye of the serpent opening. Ouroboros, his class totem, a symbol of eternity, wisdom, and the cycle of rebirth. On the Mystic Continent, every adventurer had a constellation, a star map. As they leveled, new stars ignited around their core. And now, alone in this quiet apartment, Lin Da's star had begun to glow once more. He was no longer just a healer. He was something more, something destined. All 100 stars. When all the stars in a spiritual world lit up, the class totem would shatter through the dark cosmic veil, and an adventurer would finally wield their true power. But for now, Linda was still at the very beginning. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, he quietly absorbed ambient magic energy from the air, refining it into his core. Experience points crawled slowly across his progress bar, like a snail inching forward on a frozen path. Half an hour passed. Fatigue crept into his limbs, and the subtle ache in his core warned him he could refine no more tonight. With a soft breath, Linda opened his eyes and summoned his personal panel. "You have diligently cultivated for 30 minutes. Experience +1. It wasn't much, but it was enough. To reach level 1, only 10 points are required. At this rate, even without hunting monsters, he'd reach it in 10 days. Most adventurers took a full month just to level up once. Clearly, his new class, Healing Hero, had elevated not only his strength, but his potential. Linda allowed himself a small smile and closed the panel. Tomorrow would be the first step on his path of conquest. Early morning. Thud. Ow, ow. Kaphne tumbled off the sofa and landed hard. Groaning in pain, she rubbed the lump on her head as tears welled in her eyes. Her face looked pallid, her stomach queasy. Last night's wheat beer hadn't yet made peace with her digestive system. Shuffling to the bathroom, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Tangled blonde hair, lifeless eyes, and a bruise darkening on her thigh. What happened last night? Her memories were foggy. The pain was real. That bruise, was it from someone's hand? A horrifying image flashed through her mind. Lin Da's smiling face turning sinister, looming over her unconscious body. Her heart skipped. Damn it! Panic surged. She frantically checked herself, top to bottom. Everything was intact, untouched. Relieved but shaken, she slumped onto the toilet seat, her head in her hands. "What are you doing?" Linda, half awake, rubbed his eyes as he walked into the bathroom. Kathleen forced a dry laugh. Nothing. Just try to remember. Say, this bruise on my leg, what happened? You were dead drunk. I carried you all the way back. Of course I had to hold you tight. Oh, Kathleen scratched her head awkwardly. She misjudged him. If Linda had harbored any impure thoughts, he'd had plenty of chances the first night, yet he hadn't made a move. As she glanced at his tired eyes and the faint shadows beneath them, she asked, insomnia? Couldn't sleep even with a bed? Then she suddenly frowned. Wait a second. Wasn't it my turn to sleep in the bed? Why did I end up on the sofa? Next time. Definitely, Linda replied hastily, brushing past her. Behind him, Kathnee's voice echoed in irritation. I want to file for a hero replacement. Linda sat on the couch, rubbing his temples. He hadn't slept well. A vivid, bizarre nightmare had plagued him all night. His discarded video game characters had crawled from the depths of his memories and surrounded him, accusing, tormenting. Werewolves, snake women, big sister archetypes, and shy girls in black tights. They'd all returned, howling betrayal. He'd worried about this exact thing when he first came to the Mystic Continent. If any of his old characters had crossed into this world too. But after investigating, he'd found no trace of a rookie adventurer team. So for now, he let it go. Opening the window, he slapped his cheeks to wake himself, buckled his belt loaded with potions, and prepared to face the day. After breakfast and a quick stop at the general store, Linda and Kathleen purchased basic leather armor and weapons, spending 5 gold coins in total. Linda opened his personal interface to check his new stats. The equipment section showed a human-shaped silhouette with 6 slots: head, chest, legs, weapon, and 2 for accessories. He tapped the chest slot. Name: boringly crafted leather armor. Type: equipment chest. Quality: white common. Level: 0. Attributes: defense +1, HP +80, agility -1. Score: 10. Just barely usable scrap leather. Great, Linda thought. A piece of junk that even lowers agility. He clicked on his sword next. Name: rusty longsword fit only to prop up a table. Type: equipment, one-handed sword. Quality: white common. Level: 0. Attributes: strength +10, agility -1. Score: 7. It's rusty, but enough to cut cotton. He sighed and closed the interface. Still, his strength stat now reached 23. Plenty to one-shot a level 0 slime with around 20 HP. Hey, how are your attributes? He asked Kathleen as they walked. The blonde goddess frowned. With this short sword? Strength around 13. That's barely above a magic snail. Linda gave up on hoping for help from her during the fight. Thief-class characters were notorious for their weak early game stats. Before hunting monsters, they made a detour to the Adventurers Guild to register a task. Crowds of adventurers jostled outside. Linda squeezed through and examined the massive bulletin board plastered with task scrolls. Rock-level task. A 3-headed lizard terrorizes Jotun Town. Estimated level 20 to 25. Eliminate or capture. Reward: 3,000 gold. Novice-level task. Collect 100 breeze mushrooms from Gentle Breeze wetland. Reward: 500 gold. Apprentice-level task. Capture a thunder slime. Reward: 1 to 100 gold depending on vitality. Rock-level quests were meant for elite teams. Novice and apprentice tasks were better suited for beginners. Linda studied the board carefully. Given their current power, capturing a thunder slime was their best bet. Let's start here, he said, pointing at the scroll. Kathleen pouted. Slime hunting? How boring. Boring or not, it's how adventurers level up, he replied. And we need funds, experience, and credibility. Pick up that sword of yours. We've got work to do. With their first objective in sight and the scent of progress in the air, the day's hunt began.
Hey everyone, I sincerely appreciate your support. If you enjoy my audiobooks, I would be truly grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support even further, you're welcome to become a Patreon member, where you can access audiobooks of novels as long as they are freely available on the internet. Your kindness and support mean so much. Thank you.
Ordinary slimes appear blue, a water series, and it is only when they are struck by lightning on a rainy day that they might transform into thunder slimes, a rare sight in the wilderness. May the world tree goddess's blessings protect me in reality as well, Linda thought to himself. He took the thunder slimes task scroll off the notice board. It is worth mentioning that this task was of a public type. Even if Linda accepted it, other adventurers could still accept it too. Whoever completed it first would receive the reward from the employer. It depended on both luck and speed, making it one of the less favorable types of missions. The advantage, however, was the high reward, which could go up to 100 gold coins. Linda took the scroll to register the task. During the process, he saw a stack of leaflets next to the counter, picked them up for a look, and curiously asked the staff, "Can anyone register for this?" "MHM, but only single adventurers." "Then please register me for it." Kaphne had been waiting outside for quite a while before she saw Linda come out. "How can registering for a task take longer than taking a shit?" Kaphne complained. Linda smiled without explaining. He had accepted a total of 2 tasks, and the other, if luck was on his side, could net him an easy 300 gold coins. But he didn't hold out much hope. It was just something he did on the side. His main objective for the day was still to hunt slimes. Linda hailed a carriage on the street, paid 1 silver coin as the fare, and set off with Kaphne to the wilderness of White Dove City. Half an hour later, the majestic city walls gradually came into view. Like an endless earth dragon, they encircled White Dove City, which was centered around the world tree, forming a circle. The walls stood 50 meters high, and the brown, mottled walls were filled with the weight of the years. Huge magic circles operated day and night. The terrifying aura they emitted enough to deter most magical creatures. Looking at those giant walls that stood tall like giants, Linda couldn't help but think of the background setting for the Mystic Continent. Starting 1,000 years ago, the seal on the demon realm began to loosen, and an increasing number of magical creatures came to the Mystic Continent through the cracks. They adapted to the environment here at an unbelievable speed and reproduced wildly. Before the adventurers could react, the creatures had already taken over half of the continent. Even after numerous large-scale expeditions, the magical creatures always found ways to hide like flies and mosquitoes. Just when the adventurers had a chance to breathe and look back, they were horrified to find that, like crops that could not be fully harvested, a new batch of creatures had sprung up. The terrifying rate of reproduction and ever-growing strength added increasing pressure on the adventurers. Luckily, as a starting point for new players in the game, White Dove City was considered a relatively safe area. Linda spread out a prepared map in the carriage. Their destination was the barren plains to the south of the Scorching Gorge. The area was primarily inhabited by slimes and blood-sucking mosquitoes, all low-level magical beasts, ranging from levels 0 to 3, perfect for practice. Near the city gate, many adventurers lined up, exiting the city one after another. A burly coachman greeted Linda. "Young man, care for a ride? First ride of the day, I'll give you a 20% discount." The carriage Linda was currently in only provided service within the city, and coachmen with the ability to drive in the wilderness were all high-level adventurers. For the barren plains, what's the price? Flat rate, 2 gold coins, the coachman said cheerfully. 2 gold coins was enough for an ordinary person's everyday expenses for 2 months. Although it pained Linda, he said nothing. Such is the life of an adventurer. Money flows like water. As soon as you venture into the wilderness or mystic realms, everything costs more than 10 times as much. An hour later, the carriage arrived at its destination. The wind blew across the wilderness, causing the bushes to sway gently. Before their eyes was a world of earthy yellow, indescribably desolate. "Good luck to you." The coachman set Linda and his companion down from the carriage, and then drove away. "Is this the barren plains? Why don't I see any magical creatures?" Kaphne looked around, only to see the uneven ground everywhere, with an occasional bush or a drought-resistant tree that was still stubbornly growing. Observe carefully. Slimes are a very timid type of magical creatures. When adventurers enter their territory, they'll hide immediately. Linda gripped his one-handed sword, his gaze fixed behind a drought-resistant tree. He moved stealthily, holding his breath, and approached step by step. When he got within 1 meter, he clearly saw it, the blue gelatinous mass hiding behind the drought-resistant tree. Linda dashed forward, raising his one-handed sword fiercely towards a round, basin-sized blue sphere. Slash! A strength of 23 points fell upon the fragile body of the slime. Ing-ing! A cry of anguish emanated from the body of the slime, and before it could feel more pain, its body was already torn apart by Linda's sword. A prompt appeared in the system's message bar. You've slain a level 0 Water Series slime, obtaining 1 mystical point. With the help of system abilities, Linda could obtain mystical points after killing creatures. And mystical points could be exchanged for experience points at an equal ratio, or used to improve personal cultivation talents, skills proficiency, and more. Linda did not hesitate to convert it to experience points. You've used 1 mystical point, obtaining 1 experience point. The original 1/10 of the experience bar quickly became 2/10. At the same time, in the star map of his spiritual world, there seemed to be an increase in the luminescence of the stars surrounding the core. A slight smile appeared on Linda's lips. The experience point system was indeed powerful. He had practiced to the point of saturation last night and just added 1 point of experience. And now a casual swing of his sword netted him 1 experience point. The speed of leveling sky and earth apart. Ing-ing, ing-ing-ing. At his feet, 2 palm-sized blue slimes scattered and fled. The larger slime he just killed seemed to be their parent. Magical creatures die, mighty warrior. Linda showed no mercy. This tiny slime, disrupting crops and gnawing at the mud under houses, would even jump onto ordinary people's heads, smothering them to death. It was a pest like locusts and a despicable magical creature. A flash of silver, the rusted one-handed sword. The sword moved like a dragon. You've slain 2 juvenile slimes, obtaining 1 mystical point. After dealing with them, Linda's gaze, sharp as a hawk's, caught more shapes of slimes among the bushes. Where these creatures passed, they were bound to leave behind faint, damp traces. He shared this key clue with Kaphne, asking her to help him look for them. Once found, she was to immediately notify him. It was his responsibility to slay them, to gain experience points. In other words, Kaphne's greatest use was to help him find slimes. As a summoned beast, this deity's level was linked to his, no need for training. As long as he leveled up, Kaphne would level up too. This annoyed Linda, yet he felt fortunate about it as well. Otherwise, given the deity's lazy nature, to himself might have reached level 100 while Kaphne was still loitering at level 10. Linda, come quick, this slime, it's huge. Kaphne's excited cry came from behind. Linda hurried over. In a small pit 1/2 meter deep, there lay a blue, chubby slime as big as a calf. Its eyes, small like grains of rice, were tightly shut, deep in sleep. Within its nearly transparent body, Linda saw a blue stone. He rejoiced in his heart. It was a demon core. Demon cores, only present in stronger magical creatures, are organs that store magic power. Demon cores are extremely useful. The day-to-day training of adventurers, crafting magical equipment, career advancement, constructing arrays, and so forth, all require demon cores. This item could even be used as currency. Linda thought to himself, a slime possessing a demon core must be at least level 3. While he was currently only level 0, he needed to be extra cautious. The elite slime slept soundly, completely unaware. Linda descended into the pit and approached successfully. He held his one-handed sword in a reverse grip, aiming right at the center of the slime. His waist and abdomen tensed, and he thrust the fierce sword towards the slime. Just then, ing! The elite slime instinctively sensed the danger and suddenly opened its eyes. Seeing Linda with the sword, the creature erupted in anger. Its round body split gelatinous tentacles from both sides. The slime's exclusive skill, Slime Whip. Upon being attacked, A red number appeared above Linda's head, -50. His arms were whipped by the slime, causing some pain, but not much. Linda's initial defense attributes were as high as 12, with an additional 1 point from leather armor. After withstanding the slime's whip, his hit points remained at 230, which was quite healthy. Linda knew he was an anomaly in terms of stats, which is why he chose to approach the elite slime directly. However, if it were a typical level 0 adventurer today, this one strike of the slime's whip could have taken away half of their hit points. Engaging any magical creature always involves some risk. He endured the slime's whip and thrust his one-handed sword relentlessly, penetrating the slime thoroughly. The legendary skill, Eye of Truth, activated, allowing him to see all the damage numbers. A bright red -300 popped up from the top of the elite slime's head. Because it was a fatal wound, a fatal strike was dealt. The system popped up a message. You have killed a level 3 Water Series elite slime and earned 10 mystical points. Linda managed the kill without much danger, excitedly glanced at the system message, and saw killing a level 3 slime had directly earned him 10 mystical points, enough to level up on the spot. He extracted the slime's demon core and placed it on the hook belt at his waist, then opened the system panel, converting all 11 mystical points into experience points. With a bang, a beam of golden light descended from the sky, landing on Linda's head. Within his spiritual world star map, the first star was fully lit, standing guard like a sentry around the core's source. Linda clearly felt his strength and various attributes improve. The system message area scrolled continuously as his level rose in an instant. Your level has been increased to 1. Strength +13, Magic Power +13, Defense +2, Magic Defense +3, Agility +2, Hit Points +200. Next level experience points, 0/20. As Linda looked at the vast number of attribute enhancement numbers, he couldn't help but feel excited. Except for the rarest dual defense attributes, the rest had nearly doubled the panel of a level 0 healing hero. This showed the importance of initial attributes. An initial strength of 3, when moving from level 0 to level 1, would at most increase by 2 to 4, not possibly reaching a +13 strength. Linda had merely killed a few slimes, and his combat power had doubled. With boundless motivation, he clenched his fists, thinking that today he must kill 100 slimes to drastically increase his level. On the other side, Kaphne, seeing the golden light of leveling up fall upon his head, was a bit incredulous. You're leveling up this fast? After being stunned for a while, Kaphne seemed to realize something and laughed heartily with hands on hips, as expected of the hero chosen by this deity. Well done, ha. As it turned out, as Linda leveled up, Kaphne, who was attached as an accessory, also upgraded from a level 0 thief to level 1. This feeling of effortless gains was very comfortable for Kaphne. After leveling up, Linda did not rush to hunt the next slime. Keep an eye on the surroundings. I need to rest for a while. Linda used resting as a pretext to sit down cross-legged on the spot. In the system prompt, he had gained 1 skill point. Finally, he could have attack skills and not rely on normal attacks. Linda opened the system panel skill tree page. There were 3 skill trees, with the green recovery series as the main one. The right side was pitch black, the witch series yet to be unlocked. The left side was the purple poison technique series. Linda was interested in the poison technique series. He mentally clicked on the first layer skill slot, initially sealed with 2 X-shaped chains. As the skill point was injected, it seemed like he could hear chains rattling and the sound of sealed gates opening. Purple light illuminated on the skill slot. It depicted a pale hand with the palm facing forward, releasing a purple magic sphere from its center. A message popped up. You have mastered the poison technique skill. Venom Magic Sphere. Skill, Venom Magic Sphere. Quality, purple rare. Type, common skill. Consumption, minor. Proficiency, LV1 beginner. Effect, fires a Venom Magic Sphere straight ahead. Moderate flight speed. Inflicts high damage per second to the hit target. Duration 5 seconds. stackable for 0 layers. A new skill appeared in his personal panel. After reading the description of the skill, Linda showed great delight. The skill description of this Venom Magic Sphere mentioned high damage, which generally means 2 to 4 times the adventurer's magic attributes. Its strength lies in the fact that once it hits the target, it can deal damage every second for 5 seconds, compared to the mage's Fireball technique, which also described as high damage. The single-shot damage of Fireball technique might be slightly higher, but the Venom Magic Sphere can damage over 5 seconds, making the total output far surpass that of the Fireball technique. The magic consumption of Venom Magic Sphere was also very good, classified as minor consumption. This type of spell could be cast about 10 times in full magic power. The third powerful aspect of this skill is that it can stack 0 layers as described. The current description might sound a bit funny, as 0 layers doesn't differentiate it from not stacking at all. But it's important to note that the current proficiency of Venom Magic Sphere is just LV1 beginner. Once Linda increases the proficiency, the layers it can stack will definitely not be 0. By then, he could almost just throw 1 Venom Magic Sphere and then do nothing but wait for the magical creatures to continuously lose hit points until they die. Its main feature is not a high initial burst, but altogether a disgustingly high total output. Linda felt as if he had returned to the happiest days of pioneering in his previous life's game. He held the warm new skill in his arms, eager to find a magical creature to try it out on. "Kaphni, I'm ready. Let's find our next target." Linda had just stood up when he heard a buzzing wing flapping sound approaching from behind. A magical creature? Perfect. He was worried he wouldn't find something to test his skill on. Linda reacted swiftly, turning around with his swords in both hands, assuming a battle stance. What flew towards him was a giant mosquito the size of a wash basin, its sharp mouth parts like steel needles, and its body gray. A magical creature, a blood-sucking mosquito. Their levels range from 0 to 4, with an adult body length of up to 20 centimeters, fearing the fire and grass systems. They were timid in nature, preferring to sneak up on adventurers and stab their necks with their mouth parts. A stream of information flashed through Linda's mind. Given the huge size of this blood-sucking mosquito, it was probably an elite among its species, having reached the highest level of 4. Stealing. Kaphni hid behind Linda, continuously releasing skills with her right hand. But the level gap with the blood-sucking mosquito was too big, and every attempt ended in failure. Fear flashed in Kaphni's eyes, and she tugged at Linda's clothes, saying, "Even a hero knows when it's time to retreat." Retreat. This giant blood-sucking mosquito was clearly not something the two of them at level 1 could handle. Once its sharp mouth parts pierced into their bodies, it would cause them to lose too much blood in an instant, falling unconscious, leaving them at its mercy. Handling that elite slime had required a sneak attack by Linda, not to mention this racial attribute value, crushing slime reaching level 4 elite blood-sucking mosquito. If it had been 1 minute ago, indeed it would have been so. But now it's different. Go, Venom Magic Sphere. Linda did not panic. He stretched out his hand forward. The magic circuit inside his body operated, and a purple glow rapidly converged in the palm of his hand. The next moment, a fist-sized, purple, ominous aura radiating magic sphere shot out and struck the head of the elite blood-sucking mosquito. It reacted violently, as if hot oil had hit a pan. The creature began to thrash and twist around, flying in circles like a headless fly, emitting a harsh, strident noise from its mouthpart. A purple -42 popped up above the head of the blood-sucking mosquito. After a second, another -45, -47, -40, -49. After 5 seconds, the blood-sucking mosquito had lost a total of over 200 health points. For a magical creature of this level, the health points were around 400. Linda timed it perfectly, hitting it with another Venom Magic Sphere. Then he and Kaphni waited at a safe distance of 5 meters. The poisoned blood-sucking mosquito went from energetically bumping around to limply rolling on the ground. As the last damage number popped up, The large mosquito's wings flickered weakly a couple of times before it went silent. Level 4 Magical Creature, Blood-Sucking Mosquito. Kill successful. Kaphne was dumbfounded, looking back and forth between the corpse of the blood-sucking mosquito and the composed Linda. When did you become so powerful? I'm a bit surprised myself, Linda exclaimed. A venom magic sphere dealt over 200 total damage. Here he was at level 1, and it only took him 2 hits to kill a level 4 magical creature. Even Aiko from the Holy Light Church, at this level, would need to cast 4 light arrow techniques to manage the same. It just goes to show that skills from a legendary skill tree are incredibly handy. Linda speculated in his mind that if he were to use Fireball technique, which was at the same level as Venom Magic Sphere, on the blood-sucking mosquito without the factor of a Fire Series weakness, it would probably deal around 70 damage. The magic power consumption of Fireball technique was not less than that of Venom Magic Sphere, but the total damage of the latter was 3 times that of the former. If both spells were improved to the fully proficient level 5, the gap would continue to widen, reaching 10 times, 20 times, potentially even more. If there was a downside, it was that it was slow. It took 10 seconds to deplete the blood-sucking mosquito's health points. If using Fireball technique or light arrow technique with fast enough casting speed, it could be done in 1 second per cast, resolving the situation in 4 seconds. However, that kind of magic power consumption was quite significant, similar to putting all one's effort into a dash, which quickly weakened them, while the slow collision of the Venom Magic Sphere could be maintained for a long time. This drawback could be left to a teammate with explosive skills to handle. Linda could throw a poison without care, which was perfect to free his mind to direct his teammates, and the compatibility with his skills was extremely high. Afterwards, he opened the system and found the following notification in the message bar. Killed a level 4 elite blood-sucking mosquito. Earned 20 mystical points. I can level up again. Linda's eyes lit up with joy. He clicked on the personal interface and exchanged all the mystical points for experience points. Your level has been raised to 2. Strength plus 14, Magic Power plus 14, Defense plus 2, Magic Defense plus 4, Agility plus 2, Hit points plus 200. Next level experience points, 0/50. You have earned 1 skill point. Having received a new skill point, Linda eagerly opened the Poison Technique series skill tree. In the first row, there were 2 skills. Skills in the second row required reaching level 5 before they could be learned. The existing skill points could be used to upgrade Venom Magic Sphere, raising its proficiency from LV1 to LV2. But at that moment, he was more eager to learn a new skill. Linda clicked to learn, skill points -1. The lock on the new skill loosened. A purple light shone brightly. The icon on this skill slot showed a mage in a black robe, stretching out both hands forward, a purple array glowing, and from it, a jet of water like that from a firefighter's hose was shooting out. In the background, a group of green-skinned goblins were frantically running away, one of which was hit by the jet, its beast-hide pants corroded away by most, comically revealing its green buttocks. System notification. You have mastered the Poison Technique series skill, Venom Eruption. Skill name, Venom Eruption. Quality, purple rare. Type, common skill. Consumption, medium. Proficiency, LV1 beginner. Effect, sprays a fan-shaped area of venom straight ahead, causing higher damage to those hit, then inflicts a poison status, dealing slight damage every second, lasting for 3 seconds. After reading the skill description, Linda nodded in satisfaction. It was a large area attack skill, perfectly complementing the single-target Venom Magic Sphere. Now he had means to deal with groups of monsters. With Venom Eruption, he now had a total of 4 active skills. They were Primary Healing Spell, Witch Purification, Venom Magic Sphere, Venom Eruption. For a level 2 adventurer, that was quite a few skills. Linda closed the system interface and walked over to the blood-sucking mosquito to collect the spoils of battle. The most valuable parts of the blood-sucking mosquito were the demon core and its needle-like mouthpiece. Glancing at the corpse, the method of dissecting a blood-sucking mosquito emerged in Linda's mind. The correct cutting technique was time-efficient and labor-saving, allowing him to completely extract the magical creature's organs. Collecting the spoils was akin to a precise, small-scale surgery. Kaphne handed him the knife and squatted on the side, curiously watching. Yet she also found the blood-sucking mosquito too smelly and covered her nose. She didn't look the least bit like an adventurer. To the unaware, she might seem as if she was out on a picnic. Linda couldn't help but recall his past self and the young ladies of the Snow Goose adventure team. When they came into the wild to subdue magical creatures, it was basically him working alone while the others chatted on the side. If he continued this way, it might not be good, fearing that he might end up cultivating Kaphne into a young lady as well. "Hey, get over here," Linda said with a cold face. "The mouth parts and demon core of the blood-sucking mosquito are valuable items. Dig them out for me intact." Kaphne was taken aback and annoyed. She said, "Why should I listen to you, a deity? Shouldn't this dirty and tiring job be done by a brave one? It was out of great kindness that I deigned to descend and assist the adventurer. You won't do it, huh? Fine. Venomagic sphere, go." Linda fired a purplish magic sphere that landed right between Kaphne's legs. The nearby weeds instantly dissolved in a liquid. Kaphne turned deathly pale. If the magic sphere had been just a bit higher, it would have been her end. "Will you do it?" Linda asked with a benevolent smile. "I will." Kaphne gritted her teeth. With a face full of reluctance, she stood up, covered her nose, took the dagger from Linda's hand, and under his instructions performed dissection surgery on the blood-sucking mosquito, managing to extract its mouth parts. While searching for the demon core in the mosquito's head, Kaphne almost vomited due to the sticky mess. She looked to Linda for help several times with a bitter expression, but he rejected her with a cold glare every time. "I should just find another adventurer, sigh." Kaphne complained to herself as she fiddled with the dagger and extracted a dull gray crystal, which looked like a seed, from the mosquito's head. The blood-sucking mosquito, a poison magic core, is slightly more expensive than those from the ordinary series. Linda took the magic core, rolled it on the ground to wipe away the unidentified substance, and pocketed it. The level 3 slime water elemental magic core they had obtained earlier could sell for 3 silver coins, whereas this level 4 poison blood-sucking mosquito demon core was worth around 1 gold coin. For comparison, a commoner's monthly income for labor in the city was also about 1 gold coin. This goes to show that adventurers really do make quick money. After dealing with the blood-sucking mosquito, Linda and Kaphne continued to search for magical creatures. In a cave on a small hillside, they found 4 black armored scorpions about 20 centimeters long, raising their large claws and tail stingers that flashed with cold light. The black armored scorpions lined up as if they were cavalry advancing with lances raised. They charged at the two with an overwhelming, breath-stopping pressure. Facing the rapidly charging black armored scorpions, Linda was calm and collected. His experiences as a level 15 healer made him well accustomed to battle. Adventurers who became more nervous facing a magical creature charge were the likeliest to perish. He connected with the source kernel via his mind. 2 stars in the night sky suddenly brightened, transmitting magic power into his body. Linda's internal magic circuits whirred into action, and with his right hand extended forward, a small purple magic circle formed in the blink of an eye. As a transmigrator whose aptitude for cultivation was nothing extraordinary, Linda seemed to have all his talent points invested in chant speed. The speed at which he cast spells could even rival Iko, who came from the Holy Light Church. Venom eruption. Hiss. From within the magic circle, a purple fan-shaped burst jetted out. The cave was very narrow, leaving no room for the black armored scorpions to dodge. They were hit full-on by the venom eruption. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Instantly, a -71 popped up above the heads of the black armored scorpions. Their carapaces corroded, and their movement speed was severely slowed. Every second, a -20 appeared above them, visibly occurring 3 times for a total loss of 60 hit points. Adding that to the initial 71, each black armored scorpion suffered around 130 damage. In other words, a single venom eruption dealt a total damage of 520. The average damage was slightly less than that of the Venom Magic Sphere, but its wide range made it effective for clearing out small fry magical creatures. Linda rapidly calculated in his heart. The black armored scorpions were level 4. He estimated their health points to be between 400 to 500. A single venom eruption wouldn't be able to kill them. So, he blocked the entrance, waiting for the 5 black armored scorpions to rally. Just as they were about to reach him, the purple magic circle lit up again. Venom eruption. Under the powerful impact, the black armored scorpions were sent tumbling back to the deepest part of the cave as if hit by a massive force. Wherever the venom eruption passed, not a blade of grass remained. The rock walls corroded as if splashed with sulfuric acid, a sight too ghastly to endure. Despite being severely injured, the black armored scorpions did not flee. These magical creatures were notorious for their violent temper, attacking any adventurer they saw. After regaining their footing on the ground, they collectively launched an attack on Linda. Venom eruption. Linda switched into repeat mode. After the third venom eruption, the carapace of the black armored scorpions was corroded beyond recognition, their large pincers dropping onto the ground. -20, -21, -19. The cumulative damage exceeded 400. The black armored scorpions' health points drained completely. Their insides turned burnt black, and they stiffened in place, utterly reduced to corpses. Kill level 4 black armored scorpion X4, acquiring 80 mystical points. Linda glanced at the system message bar, his mouth curling upwards slightly. The 3 venom eruptions left him somewhat fatigued, but in exchange, he earned enough experience points to advance to the next level. Having killed the black armored scorpions, he sat to add points while casually recovering his magic power. The task of extracting the demon core was handed over to Kaphne. Despite Kaphne's extreme reluctance, Linda couldn't keep around a deity who was good for nothing. If you can't extract the demon core, you might as well stay inside. Linda stood guard at the entrance, supervising Kaphne's work. Ignoring Kaphne's incessant complaints, Linda took out a blood-sucking mosquito's poison magic core from his pocket, crushed it in his palm, and slowly absorbed the magic power within. The poison magic core was like a tonic for him, making it easier for him to absorb magic power compared to cores of the Fire series or Water series. The skill's description for Venom Eruption was magic points consumption, medium. Such spells, when cast at full strength, could be used continuously 5 to 6 times. In order to kill the black armored scorpions, Linda had used Venom Eruption 3 times consecutively. Half of his magic points were depleted, and he needed to replenish them quickly. The magic power from the blood-sucking mosquito demon core flowed into him continuously, and Linda closed his eyes in comfort. Using demon cores to recover magic power was a slow process, not as quick as using potions for direct recovery, but the former was cheaper. A system message popped up. Recover magic power, temper oneself, gain 1 experience point. Linda then spent 49 mystical points to make up a total of 50 experience points. Suddenly, a ray of golden light descended upon him. He leveled up. His depleted magic power was replenished significantly, and his arm muscles became stronger. In the spiritual world's night sky, the 3rd star also lit up, allowing him to store more magic power. System prompt. You have risen to level 3. Strength plus 13, magic power plus 13, defense plus 3, magic defense plus 2, agility plus 1, hit points plus 200. Next level experience points, 0/100. At this point, Linda's total attributes reached a high degree for his level, especially hit points, which were at 800. Adding the 80 augmented by leather armor, it was 880 hit points. The health points of ordinary magical creatures at the same level were around 300. Not only did Linda have a high health reserve, but he could also use healing art to recover his own hit points. The difficulty of magical creatures hitting him was almost on par with fighting a boss. Linda thought to himself, the healing hero should really be called the Blood Ox Brave, which would be more fitting. With high defense, thick health points, plus healing art, as long as he didn't recklessly charge into piles of magical creatures, it was almost impossible to die. After resting for half an hour, Kaphne, all covered in filth, came out of the cave holding demon cores. Linda's magic power had also fully recovered. The next wave of monster hunting began anew. On the barren plains, Linda transformed into a boss, madly sweeping through the surrounding magical creatures with Kaphne. One slime after another burst as he smashed them. The blood-sucking mosquito had its proboscis plucked out. The black-armored scorpion had its carapace pulled off. Linda couldn't be bothered to check the system message bar anymore, which was filled with a string of notifications. From morning till dusk, he did only one thing: fire out venom magic spheres, unleash venom eruption, then rest, meditate. With the newly acquired demon cores, he slowly recovered magic points, and once they were restored, he'd continue firing until he was out of energy. The setting sun's blood-red light enveloped the land. Linda and the others sat on the ground, panting, counting the day's loot. Kaphne turned into a money grubber, stacked the demon cores like a small hill on the ground, and counted them one by one. 75 level 2 demon cores, 23 level 3 demon cores, 15 level 4 demon cores. No more sleeping on the sofa, Kaphne quickly calculated in her mind. The value of a level 2 demon core was 1 silver coin, 3 level 3 demon cores was worth 3 silver coins, and 1 level 4 demon core was worth 1 gold coin. In other words, these demon cores altogether were worth around 24 gold coins. When it came to buying magical equipment, it wasn't much, but for daily life expenses, it was a significant amount of money. They could live in a big villa with a swimming pool. Great, this is just fantastic. Kaphne wiped her dirty face with the corner of her clothing, tears of joy running down her cheeks. Having been a goddess for a lifetime, she had never done such dirty and tiring work. But as she held the hill-like pile of demon cores, she felt it was all worth it. But for Linda, the gold coins were just a secondary gain. The main prize was mystical points. He handed the demon cores to Kaphne for safekeeping and sat down cross-legged himself, opening his personal panel. After an afternoon of hunting magical creatures, he amassed a total of 17 mystical points. Through continuous bouts of hunting, Linda surmised some patterns. The acquisition of mystical points was not fixed. The more times he killed the same kind of magical creature, the fewer points he received. At first, a black-armored scorpion was worth 40 points. Towards the end, it only gave 20. Linda delayed leveling up in order to amass more points. It also involved an over-level kill reward. The more levels he surpassed the creature and the higher his output towards that creature, the more points he would get. Conversely, if level 3 Linda killed level 0 juvenile scorpions, he'd gain not a single mystical point. This setting was the same as the games in the Mystic Continent. Killing higher-level magical creatures gave more experience points. Killing lower-level ones, fewer. If the magical creature's level was too much lower than one's own, it wouldn't contribute any experience points at all. We farmed the barren plains fairly thoroughly. Let's call it a day here, Linda mused. Immediately, he opened the mystical points exchange page. Without a second thought, he converted 1,000 experience points. There was no need to hold back on leveling up now. Being at a higher level would make it easier for Linda to move to higher level maps to hunt creatures. A level 4 blood-sucking mosquito's demon core was worth 1 gold coin, but a level 10 black skin leech from the painful swamp could sell for 3 gold coins. If it was an elite black skin leech, it might be worth 10 gold coins. The rate at which high-level adventurers earn money was nearly like using a sack to collect gold coins. Linda needed a lot of money to recruit team members with exceptional talent. Digging up an adventurer of the caliber of Leah and Aiko, don't even think about it without 100,000 gold coins. System, level me up. Linda silently chanted in his heart. 1,000 experience points surged into his personal panel. In an instant, Linda only felt countless soft little hands massaging him. The joy of leveling up sweeping through his body, and streams of golden light continually falling on his head. leaving him so comfortable that he almost fainted. System notification. You have risen to level 4. System notification. You have risen to level 5. System notification. You have risen to level 6. System notification. You have risen to level 7. Total. Strength plus 50. Magic power plus 50. Defense plus 8. Magic defense plus 11. Agility plus 7. Hit points plus 800. A tremendous magic power surged within Linda's body. In the star map of his spiritual world, 7 stars were revolving around the core, shining brightly. When Linda first came to the barren plains, his magic points were only 13. But now his panel, not counting equipment, already shows. Name, Linda. Occupation, chosen healing hero. Level, 7. Magic power, 90. Strength, 90. Defense, 24. Magic defense, 35. Agility, 22. Resistance, none. Experience points, 0 out of 700. With a dual attack as high as 90, almost 9 times what it was at level 0. Such a tremendous increase allowed Linda to burst all the magical creatures on the barren plains with merely a one-handed sword, without using a spell. His one venom eruption was an instant kill. No magical creature could withstand his enormous damage. Besides attributes, he also gained 4 skill points. But as to which skill to add, Linda needed to make a detailed plan after going back. He had 2 skill trees and 1 unlocked which series skill tree. All use of skill points must be careful to avoid spreading them too thin and ending up with mediocre skills. On the other hand, Kaphne leveled up along with him, but she was so engrossed in counting demon cores that she wasn't prepared for the influx of golden light on her head. The comfort and happiness directly stupefied Kaphne. For a moment, Kaphne's eyes rolled back, her mouth wide, open drooling, her body shivering. "Are you okay?" Linda kindly cast a healing art. Kaphne sobered up considerably, wiped her drool, and pinched the soft flesh between her thighs as she said in a daze, "This isn't a dream, right? How did I suddenly get to level 7? Because I leveled up," Linda explained. "How did you level up? Is there something you're hiding from me?" Kaphne, thinking of something, became furiously angry. "You didn't pledge allegiance to the World Tree Goddess, did you? Did she give you a new skill?" A strong feeling of betrayal rose in Kaphne's heart. Linda did not expect such a big reaction from Kaphne and explained helplessly, "It's my inherent ability, gaining strength from killing monsters, then saving up that strength for a breakthrough in one go. There's such an outrageous skill." Kaphne sat down, half convinced. Linda did not intend to tell anyone about the existence of the system and said smilingly, "Isn't it good to level up quickly? Raise our levels as soon as possible, defeat the Demon King, and you can return to the Divine Realm." Considering it, Kaphne thought that made some sense. "As a hero, you're somewhat useful." Kaphne unexpectedly encouraged Linda a bit. The two of them packed the demon cores into small bags, with Kaphne responsible for holding them, then slapped the mud off their bottoms and planned to return to White Dove City before it got dark. Just then, Kaphne suddenly stopped and furrowed her brows, looking suspiciously toward the north. There lay a vast red gorge, red rocks releasing heat that made one sweat profusely even from a great distance. Seeing Kaphne motionless, Linda inquired, "What's wrong?" Glancing in the direction of Kaphne's gaze, the place was called Scorching Gorge. Linda had a recollection of it, as he often went there to level up in his previous life playing the game. It was full of little lava creatures, ranging in levels from 3 to 7, with Earth System and Fire Series attributes, which gave them resistance to his Poison Series, not a suitable map for leveling up. Enhance. There's nothing good that way. We need to prioritize places where the magical creature's weakness is poison, said Linda. Kaphne was still unmoved, like a wooden stake driven into the ground, staring blankly at the scorching gorge, her body trembling slightly. Gradually, Linda sensed something too. A bloody scent drifted in the hot wind, blowing in their faces. The scorching gorge was at least 2,000 meters away from here. To smell blood from so far away? How many lives had perished in the scorching gorge? Linda's expression changed. Only some exceedingly terrifying magical creatures could cause slaughter of such magnitude. He grabbed the still-dazed Kaphne, urging, "Don't just stand there. Let's leave quickly. The sooner the better." Only then did Kaphne snap out of her trance, becoming alert again. Unbeknownst to her, a layer of fine sweat beads had formed on her forehead. The malevolent and intense aura emanating from the gorge was nothing like the slimes could emit. It was like a pitch-black fog, devouring everything around it, unlike ordinary magical creatures. Moreover, that evil aura was mixed with a hint of human presence. Such a unique aura. It was a witch. Kaphne shivered uncontrollably. The day before yesterday, when Linda acquired the witch purification skill, she was brimming with confidence to hunt and purify all witches. Now, she realized how foolish that idea was. The terrifying magic power sent from the gorge was probably close to level 25, a monster that she and Linda couldn't handle today. At this moment, within the scorching gorge, the steep rock walls on both sides were like swords thrusting into the sky. The twilight rays fell on the red rocks, casting a blood-colored veil all around. The pungent smell of blood permeated the atmosphere, and in view were numerous human bodies. There were about 20 bodies, all clad in the silver armor of the Holy Light Church, with capes bearing a totem, a cross enveloped in holy light. The Holy Light totem was the knight's faith, but these capes, deemed their pride and honor, were now tattered and torn, including the hard armor on their bodies, which bore deep marks as though they were slashed by beast claws. Many knights had their fatal wounds on their necks, their throats directly torn open. Their faces were frozen in expressions of agony, their bodies still warm, and blood flowed freely, staining the earth red. "Let me go, please spare my life." A knight with a golden ponytail threw her sword aside in fear. This knight, named Tanya, had completely lost her will to fight, including her faith in the Holy Light Church, which crumbled together. Anyone who saw nearly 20 paladins slaughtered like chopping vegetables by that beast girl would feel devastated. Tanya had received a guarantee from her captain before setting off, saying it would be easy to capture a level 20 beastman and earn a lot of merit. In fact, they were wrong. The captain was killed by the beastman in an encounter, and what Tanya saw was blood and gore, with her teammates clutching their torn throats, writhing on the ground like maggots in their agony. A witch. Undoubtedly, this beastman was the catastrophe girl, said to be capable of destroying a city. Tanya looked fearfully straight ahead. There stood a girl with light blue short hair. Her slanting bangs covered one eye. She wore a black crop top, revealing a slender waist with clear muscle lines, covered by a white sun shirt, while her lower body sported navy blue combat shorts, her long legs powerful, and her brown short boots stepping in the bloodstains. Behind her trailed a fuzzy white wolf tail. At this moment, the girl's hands transformed into beast claws, her nails as sharp as long blades. Her claws dripped with the paladin's blood. Her tail hung low, its movement minimal even as she walked. This was a combat stance, ready to pounce on her prey at any moment. The most hair-raising aspect was, amidst the carnage around her, this beast girl chewed expressionlessly on a piece of gum made from slime gel. She tried hard to blow a huge bubble, but each attempt ended in failure. The repeated failures made her mood extremely foul, the expression on her beautiful face cold enough to cool down the entire scorching gorge. "Please spare me. I will definitely quit the Holy Light Church and never dare to go after witches again. I promise." Tanya, trembling, bowed her head low, her hands supporting her on the ground, not daring to look up at the other party. "Why should I spare you?" The beast girl examined the bodies on the ground and spoke indifferently. "If you can give me a local adventurer's ID from White Dove City, I might consider it. I belong to the Holy Light Church of Red Heart City, but give me some time, I can get it for you," Tanya said anxiously. "I need it now." The beast girl's voice was utterly flat. Please have mercy on me." Tanya resorted to pleading emotionally, wiping her tears as she spoke. My husband and children are waiting for me to come home. If I can't make it back, they will be heartbroken too. Please have some sympathy. Give me a chance." The beast girl with light blue short hair stopped. Her tail, which had been hanging, stood erect. She narrowed her eyes at Tanya. Husband? Children? As a young beast man in her early 20s, she hadn't yet experienced those things. "For their sake, is it worth giving up the honor of a night to beg for mercy?" said the beast girl. Tanya nodded eagerly. "If it were before I was married, never. But now, for their sakes, I would do anything." "Then I cannot possibly let you go. If you return, your husband and children will just keep causing me trouble." The beast girl sneered. "Remove weeds thoroughly." That was a lesson her old team captain had taught her. Beast claws flashed. In an instant, blood spurted. Tanya, a level 20 paladin, couldn't withstand even a single blow. After killing everyone, the girl stood still. Her eyebrows slightly furrowed, a hint of pain flashing across her face. Because of Tanya, she was reminded of her days as an adventurer and the captain of that adventure team. A silent, odd man wearing a mask, once hailed as the man from the Southern Fire Empire with the most potential to reach the top of the world tree. "Lulu, you've been kicked out of the team," he said. 3 years later, those cold words, spoken by the captain who was like a magical automaton, still cut through the Beastman girl's heart like a knife. Before she could take her revenge on that heartless captain, he mysteriously disappeared shortly after kicking her out of the team, leaving no trace behind. It had been 3 years since that day. Remembering the days in that adventure team, Lulu felt only confusion and resentment towards that captain. In the World Tree secret realm, despite her meticulous execution of his orders, setting off traps just as directed, she was still ruthlessly kicked out of the team in the end. No matter how much she contributed to the team, he dismissed her as a useless early game character. Though the team members were all living beings in the captain's eyes, everyone seemed to become mere data on paper. Strange not only in personality, the captain's name was also very weird. It was Dial Yin asterisk Jawa asterisk 1572 957 0347. Lulu truly began to pay attention to this odd person when he inadvertently stroked her head in the back house, revealing her real name. A name only she knew. Captain Linda, the captain of the primordial adventure team. Linda. He had rescued her from slave traders, made her into an adventurer, then stripped her of her equipment and kicked her out of the team with a single gesture. This Captain Linda had vanished in a thin air 3 years ago. Recently, Lulu received news that in White Dove City, a somewhat famous adventurer from the Snow Goose adventure team, who served as a healer, was named Linda. Although she felt it was highly unlikely that he was her former captain, she still came. Arriving just as White Dove City had an important mission assigned by the higher-ups, and with a suspected former captain present, Lulu had high expectations for this trip. Surprise, isn't it? 3 years have passed, and the trash you kicked out has transformed into this, she said. Lulu looked self-mockingly at her blood-stained beast claws. As a witch, the magic power flowed through her veins, bringing tremendous strength along with its binding contract. This power, obtained at a cost, made Lulu feel ashamed, yet also drove her to hide the fact that she had become a witch, wanting to confront him with pride. Even as a witch, even as a lapdog of the demon realm, the useless team member he had once kicked out had also become a formidable figure. Could that eye of wisdom from the Snow Goose adventure team be you? She wondered. Lulu gazed towards White Dove City to the south, appearing as a mere speck, her icy, dead heart seemingly beginning to beat again. South of Scorching Gorge, on the sparsely covered barren plains, 2 adventurers were racing towards White Dove City. "A witch?" Linda asked, eyes wide in disbelief as he ran, hearing Kaphne's explanation. "Are you sure you're not mistaken? Witches aren't cabbages in the field that you see whenever you want." Having been on Mystic Continent for 3 years, Linda had only heard of witches in drunken tales from adventurers at the tavern. Linda looked back. The massive Scorching Gorge stood like a giant on the plain. Despite their desperate efforts to distance themselves, they could still see the threatening gorge. It seemed like the gorge itself was the witch. I'm never mistaken. Kaphne snapped, annoyed by Linda's disbelief. I am a deity, after all. Show some faith in your deity. Yet you don't even know how to extract a demon core. Humph. Would you study the dining etiquette of ants? Kaphne taunted. She opened her mouth to belittle Linda further, but suddenly, her expression changed dramatically. This is bad. What is it? Linda asked, feeling a bad premonition himself. Despite the scorching sun overhead, a chill seemed to envelop him. It was as if a huge, icy fog was rapidly approaching from behind. Kaphne's face turned pale. She's coming. That witch, she's found us. And she's getting closer. What? Linda frowned deeply, turning his head. About 1,000 meters away on the plain, a small black that was hurtling towards them like an arrow. The wild dust surged up, resembling an out-of-control mud dragon. P.S. Please keep following the story. Deity, can't you think of something? I can't purify this kind of witch at the moment. Linda's head was filled with knowledge of dealing with magical creatures, but he was at a loss when it came to witches. Kaphne bit her teeth and said, There is a way. What is it? Linda asked, surprised. He hadn't been expecting much from this scrap god. It was just a casual question, but the unexpected response was a pleasant surprise. Kaphne's expression became serious. Inside me, there's a trace of divine power, enough to deal with that witch. But this body of mine is too weak, and the cost of using divine power will most likely ruin it. Linda was astonished. What exactly is the cost? I told you it will ruin me. But you're already a scrap, aren't you? Such a cost is like no cost at all, right? What? You think I can't find another hero? Kaphne was so angry her voice trembled, and she wanted to unleash her divine power on Linda's head. Just then, the intense pressure from behind them grew closer, and the two had no time to bicker as their hearts raced. It's coming. Linda's gaze hardened. He whispered, Let's not rush to use divine power. I have a plan that might scare the other party off. Oh, let's hear it. Kaphne said excitedly. After cleaning up the corpses in the canyon, the Beastman girl Lulu went out and, using her excellent vision, spotted the two humans running away in the distance. Eradicate them root and branch. This teaching from her captain flashed through Lulu's mind. She had intended to crush the escaping ants with a simple strike, but upon catching up, she found the situation different from what she had expected. The two ants didn't give up and beg for mercy. They didn't draw their swords in a battle posture either. A tall man stood while another, a blonde adventurer with bent waist, was grabbed by her hands from behind, appearing to be in the midst of doing something. Such a scene, Lulu had seen many times in the rooms of inns during her missions. But it was the first time she had seen adventurers daring to do such shameless acts in the face of crisis. Although the two were facing away from her and the details were unclear. In any case, Lulu felt a hint of insult to her dignity. 5-centimeter long, blade-like claws suddenly protruded from her beastly paws, and she walked towards the two with an icy demeanor. This which wasn't embarrassed away. Instead, it's my face that's about to be lost. Kaphne, whose hands were grabbed as if she was being pushed in a cart, felt her cheeks burning with shame and irritation. Despite being properly dressed in trousers, she couldn't help but feel annoyed. I've seen some artistic works where similar methods were used to get past crises, Linda lamented. In his mind, if the witch had been innocent, she might have been scared off by such a scene. Of course, even if she didn't leave, there was no loss for him. Trying was always better than not. With the strategy failing, it was time to trouble Kaphne to use her divine power. Linda released Kaphne's wrists and turned to face the witch. He wanted to see what the catastrophe girls looked like before the witch perished. He stared intently. In front of him was a girl about 1.60 meters, with light blue short hair, walking towards him at a slow pace. The girl hung her head low with the hood on, wearing a form-fitting battle suit with a white sun-shading coat over it, revealing only her tight waist with a beautiful mermaid line. Her long legs were a healthy wheat color, clad in brown short boots, with clearly defined muscle lines, and each step she took was filled with strength. However, The most captivating features were the girl's ferocious, blood-stained beast claws and the floppy, fluffy white tail trailing behind her. Beastmen of the werewolf race? Linda thought to himself. In White Dove City, beastmen only made up about 1/10 of the total population, and famous ones were even fewer. Linda mostly knew them all. In his memory, there was no such girl. It seemed she came from another city. Although he really wanted to purify her, seeing the girl's murderous look, it was impossible to let her obediently be touched and purified by him. Linda felt the enormous divine power coming from behind him, from Kaphne, and couldn't help but look at the Beastman girl with a tinge of regret. A witch who cannot be purified by him and help the side of the heroes must be eradicated. Die, Linda thought coldly to himself. And at that moment, a gust of wind swept across the barren plains. The hood the Beastman girl wore on her head fell off. Her light blue short hair danced in the wind. The girl's deep blue eyes were like frozen lakes, and inside her slightly open cherry lips, two sets of especially sharp, wild canine teeth were visible. She seemed to feel the threat from Kaphne and let out a wolf-like growl from her throat. But the moment Linda saw the Beastman girl's face clearly, he was somewhat stunned. She looked familiar. No, he needed another look. Then, Linda found that the more he looked, the more familiar she became. Memories from his previous life began to gradually emerge before his eyes. The computer screen dimmed to its darkest in the night. The licking of beast claws wanting to be petted, the 3D girl model that yearned for head pats, and the cold yet faintly warm lord. Familiar, very familiar. She had accompanied Linda through many overnight sessions. The blue-haired witch before him was none other than a member of his squad from 3 years ago, back when Linda was on Blue Star playing the game Mystic Continent, a frost wolf warrior by profession. Possessing the bloodline skill Berserk, she was a powerful early-game character very suitable for being thrown into a pile of magical creatures to grind levels without care. A 4-star SR card, Lulu. As Linda's and the Beastman girl's gazes met and collided, the fierce growl from her throat suddenly ceased. As if she had discovered something unbelievable, the girl's eyes slowly widened. Her little mouth opened unconsciously, and her expression turned blank. Linda, under the girl's gaze, felt as if he was on pins and needles. She shouldn't recognize him, should she? In the game, Linda's character wore a mask. Theoretically, this Lulu had never even seen his face and shouldn't know what he looked like. Even assuming for a second that Linda's transmigration involved his soul entering a random lucky bystander. Could it be that said lucky person just happened to be his game character? But his game character's initial profession wasn't a healer. Too many things didn't make sense. So, Linda rationally speculated that his body could not possibly be related to her. That's what theory would suggest. Yet the sweat on Linda's forehead grew more abundant, soon to become a small waterfall. The Beastman girl, named Lulu, with light blue hair and a fluffy tail, was staring at him with an incredibly complex gaze. Admiration, hatred, resentment, and a trace of faint murderous intent. That was certainly not the rich expression one would have when looking at a stranger. It was almost like a pie chart. The negative emotions took up at least 70%. Captain, it's been 3 years. Don't tell me you don't recognize me. In the wilderness, doing that kind of thing with a girl. It seems that you, who were like a magic machine without emotions, have also fallen. A voice tinged with mockery wafted from the girl's pale pink lips. Lulu retracted her beast claw, turning it into a normal girl's palm, and imitating Linda's stance with hands in pockets. Her long legs beneath the shorts straight as jade pillars. Her beautiful and handsome face slightly lifted, her mouth with a hint of an inexplicable smile, looking proudly towards Linda. This shout of Captain dumbfounded Linda. It seemed that the lucky NPC he soul-traveled into was really his game's main character. But he never showed his face in the game. He was a masked man. All that was revealed were a pair of eyes, and just with that, they recognized him, and to be mistaken for a lust demon who loved the outdoors. Linda felt the situation was very bad. Huh, you know each other. Kaphne, seeing the Beastman girl withhold her hand and look at Linda with a gaze filled with the resentment of being abandoned. Couldn't help but touch her head in confusion. "No, I don't know her," Linda hastily denied. Given his actions as a player in the game, even being attacked with a firewood knife 100 times wouldn't be too much if it were in reality. Not just Lulu, but at least a dozen early characters whom he had maxed out in favor and enhanced stats, and then kicked out of the team, stripping their equipment to sell. When they were no longer needed, in their hearts, Linda was probably seen as not much different from Leon, or perhaps even worse. "Don't know each other? Hee, but it's enough that I know you." Lulu's Beastman claw extended one finger, directly pointing at Linda's nose tip. "You disappeared for 3 years. Why are you hiding here? And you've gotten weaker? Using your own words, you're now like a useless small fry, only good for stepping on traps." The girl's words were filled with cold irony. Linda really wanted to explain that those words were just character lines said in the game, and they didn't have much to do with him. But Lulu seemed convinced that he was that captain. "You've got the wrong person. I'm just a passing adventurer." Linda pretended not to understand, grabbed Kaphne beside him, and said, "The clothes out to dry haven't been collected, and it's getting late. We really need to hurry back." Lulu should have noticed that Kaphne had an ace up her sleeve and probably wouldn't keep pestering. Linda tentatively turned his back and, with a face full of confusion, not understanding what was going on, took steps toward the direction of White Dove City with Kaphne. "Wait!" A stern voice came from behind. The Beastman girl behind them leaped into the air, her body spinning in a circle, her fluffy white wolf tail elegantly dancing, and she landed firmly, blocking their way. Lulu frowned and said, "What do you mean you're not the captain?" "I think you have the wrong person," Linda said awkwardly. If he hadn't been recognized, there was still hope that he could rely on Kaphne, his secret weapon, to safely extract himself. If he was recognized, it was a different story. In the game, he stripped Lulu of her equipment and directly threw it into the great furnace to disintegrate into diamonds for strengthening other characters. When that action was translated into reality, Linda was unsure of what exactly it would become, but surely Lulu would not be happy to recognize him as her captain. Therefore, he must hide the fact that he was Lulu's captain. "Aren't you Captain Dialien?" Lulu coldly walked up to him and peered closely at his face with raised foot. "Dialien, who is that?" Linda asked, puzzled. "Dialien asterisk Zhao." Linda suddenly realized. No wonder he couldn't find the rookie adventurer team after coming to this world. Just like the ID power leveling asterisk look for me, it had all been automatically translated by this world into names that aligned with this world's viewpoint and could be understood by normal people. Power leveling was translated into Dialien, and the 2 characters for rookie had also been translated into something else, more in line with this world's viewpoint. "I'm not your Captain Dialien. You must have the wrong person," said Linda. "You're not the captain of the Primitive Adventure Team." "Primitive Adventure Team? What's that? I've never heard of it." Linda's mouth was muddled, but his heart understood everything. The words rookie had been translated into primordial, so he couldn't find the existence of the Rookie Adventurer Team at all. "That's your alias. I know your real name is Linda." Lulu stared into his eyes. "You're not Linda?" Actually, my name is Licho." Linda chuckled dryly. He was a little frazzled. How could his name be known by a game character? At that moment, he saw Lulu show a thoughtful expression and mutter to herself in a low voice. "That night, you clearly wanted me to call you Linda. Did I really recognize the wrong person?" This statement pried open the locked doors of Linda's dusty memories. He remembered why Lulu knew his name. It was due to a special scenario triggered after maxing out the affection level in the game. On a small hillside filled with birdsong and the scent of flowers, there was a proposal to use a special nickname to privately address the player who was the team leader. This would bring up an input box where players could type any text. What Linda had entered was his real name. "Aren't you called?" Kaphne looked confused, about to blurt out Linda's name unconsciously. "Sure." Linda gave her a meaningful look in time, and Kaphne, after a moment's pause, said, "Right, Lily, Cha? We still have to go home to collect the laundry." The two of them took the opportunity to attempt an escape, while Lulu seemed to be lost in thought. But they had barely taken a step before being blocked again. I can't possibly let you leave. Lulu's hands turned back into beast claws as she said coldly, "Since you're not the team leader, just go to your death." "What if I am?" "Then go die as well." "Isn't that the same thing?" "Then why did you even ask if I was or not?" Linda said, frustrated. "Of course it's different." Lulu shook her head. "If you're the team leader, you'll die even more horribly." "Well, thank you very much." Linda sighed. Seeing Lulu approaching menacingly, with murderous intent, Linda's mind raced. If possible, it would be best to preserve Kaphne's divine power and settle this matter peacefully. Suddenly, he had an idea and asked, "Are you targeting us because you're worried we'll reveal your secret?" Linda did not know what had happened in Scorching Gorge, but judging from a stench of blood that had wafted over, a gruesome battle must have occurred, and Lulu did not want word to get out, which is why she had set out to kill them. Lulu didn't answer his question, which was as good as an affirmation. Knowing the demands of this beastman girl, Linda now had a solution. Linda extended his right hand, looking intently at the beastman girl. "I won't reveal your whereabouts. If you don't trust me, you can join my squad. This way, you can monitor us at all times. Or, do you want to start a fight with the possibility of both sides suffering? That would benefit neither of us." Kaphne cooperated by revealing a trace of divine power. It wasn't much in quantity, but the sheer terror of its quality instinctively made Lulu retreat a few steps back. She crouched down on all fours like a wild beast, her wolf tail tucked under her body, her expression wary as she watched Kaphne. Linda said, "We don't want to fight with you either. Joining my squad is the best choice, right? If a regular person invited this beastman, which to join their team, it would be a sure road to death. One might end up with their neck bitten off one night." But Linda was different. He possessed a key skill, which purification. Once a preliminary trust was established and Lulu experienced the sweetness of purification, becoming addicted to it, she might truly become a member of the squad. Linda's team was in need of members at the moment. Just with him and Kaphne, once they encountered the Snow Goose adventure team, led by Leah in the Great Mystery Continent, they had to retreat. But with Lulu added, it was different. Linda fully believed that Lulu, once her berserk skill was activated, was no weaker than Leah, or perhaps even stronger. After considering for a while, Lulu slowly stood up from the ground. "Are you a local adventurer from White Dove City?" she asked. "Yes." Linda nodded. Hearing this answer, Lulu's expression relaxed, seemingly attaching great importance to whether it was a local team from White Dove City. She glanced at Linda's extended right hand and, without taking it, said indifferently, "If you leak anything about me, I won't let you off." Did that mean she agreed to join the team? Linda's heart relaxed somewhat, and he said, "I never betray my teammates." Lulu put away her beast claws and once again stuck her hands in her coat pockets, her face expressionless. The wild wind tousled her light blue short hair, and her fluffy tail swayed slightly with each step she took. She pulled her hood up again, and her figure, somewhat aloof, moved in the direction of White Dove City. Linda and Kaphne exchanged glances. "Lin, Li Cha, do you really plan to recruit her into the team?" "Your matter. She could just casually inquire about it in the city, and it would be exposed, right? You can't hide it for long. Come to think of it, what exactly is your relationship with that beast man? What will you do in the future? I don't want to be accompanied by a killer every day." Kaphne's voice was as low as possible, her complexion extremely unsightly. "There's always a way," Linda said. "What kind of solution is there's always a way?" "It means there's always a way." Linda quickly caught up. A powerful oppressive force hung over him, a sign that Lulu was hurrying the two of them. Catching up to walk parallel with the Beastman girl, Linda said, "Go into the city to register the team." "You don't have a team?" Lulu looked at him unfavorably. "We were short on people before." Despite Lulu's dissatisfaction, Linda seemed not to notice as he stared straight ahead and spoke calmly. Lulu, choosing to ignore him, was silent for a while before saying, "Register as soon as possible." "Okay," Linda nodded. In fact, his mind wasn't on her at the moment. A system prompt had just come through. Ordinary prompts were usually displayed in white font, but this time it was in bold gold letters, clearly an important message. Linda clicked to view it. Beyond the three major sections, personal interface, equipment column, and skill tree, there was now an additional section named Witch. This section seemed to be related to the skill, Witch Purification. Linda clicked on this module with a thought, prompting another system message. Detection of one recognized witch. Would you like to bind? Current number of bindings, 0/1. What was the use of binding a witch? Linda entered his question into the system's Q&A sprite. Beep, beep, beep. After a series of mechanical sounds, a system message popped up. After binding a witch, by increasing the depth of purification, different rewards can be obtained. These include, but are not limited to, mystical points, skill points, equipment, experience points, etc. Purification wouldn't be easy, would it? Linda glanced at the Beastman girl beside him, her face cold and indifferent. Although those little hands were in her pockets, not taken out, he certainly wouldn't forget how sharp a pair of beast claws could be. To rashly purify her would likely endanger his life. In his mind, Linda questioned, what does depth of purification mean? It's not something lewd, is it? The system replied, whether it becomes lewd depends on the host's method of purification. However, from an efficiency standpoint, depurification is recommended, meaning high-trust purification. Linda, high-trust purification? What's that? More mechanical buzzing sounds. System text materialized. The higher the witch's trust in the host, the more open her heart's door will become, and the better the purification effect. Below are the different levels of trust. 0 stranger, 10 acquaintance, 20 nodding acquaintance, 30 courtesy greeting, 40 superficial friend, 50 ordinary friend, 60 good friend, 70 deep affection, 80 best friends / sworn brothers, 90 wholehearted, 100 till death do us part. Lynn had spotted a blind spot. He asked, what does sworn brothers mean? System, hashtag a percent, hashtag UN, hashtag. Linda understood. That is forced purification, disregarding the witch's personal will and pulling it up from trust level 0 like a radish all the way to 80. After browsing the user manual for a while, Linda gained a preliminary understanding. This witch purification skill would exert different levels of power depending on the witch's level of trust in him. If the trust was too low, then high frequency of contact will be necessary to enhance the effect of purification. In summary, trust level plus contact frequency equals purification degree. Among these, a trust value of 80 is a rather special tier, attainable by two methods. One is to slowly build trust from 0 to 80. The second is simple and violent. Objectively speaking, the latter is a shortcut. But correspondingly, the price of taking shortcuts is terrifying, possibly forever locking at 80, unable to advance further. Linda figured out the essence of the witch purification section, which, put plainly, was somewhat similar to the favorability system. Each time a new level of favorability was reached, a reward would be granted. In the reality of the great mystery continent, this could mean mystical points, skill points, gear. Linda silently commanded, activate. System notification. Current number of witches recognized. 1. Now bound, witch Lulu. Current trust level. -10, slight disgust. Reward received. 100 mystical points. Linda was stupefied. There are negative trust levels? Not only are there negative numbers, but rewards were given for them. 2. Linda felt like he had received alms from the system. I don't even know your name yet. If we're forming a small team, we should at least know each other's names, right? Linda spoke to Lulu. In theory, he didn't know Lulu's name. So he asked and tried to establish a preliminary friendly contact with this cold beastman girl through conversation. Exchanging names was undoubtedly the first step in building trust. Lulu glanced at him sidelong and, probably figuring the request made sense, said indifferently, Lulu * Finard. The name was real. The surname was made up. Linda thought to himself, I'm Li Cha, and she is Kaphne. Linda did some introductions. System notification. which Lulu's trust level towards you +1, current trust level -9, slight disgust. Seeing this message, Linda felt relieved. Once he raises the trust level to the 30-point courtesy greeting, he should be able to propose purification. 30 points, it doesn't seem like much, but upon reflection, it is actually quite hard. Given the current situation, Linda was worried that Lulu might sever his and Kaphne's throats in the middle of the night, silencing them forever. And Lulu was also afraid of the mysterious golden light inside Kaphne, worried that if she wasn't careful enough, Kaphne might kill her. Joining the team was merely a temporary measure. Fundamentally, they were still on guard against each other. When Lulu was planning to leave White Dove City, she definitely wouldn't let him and Kaphne go. Linda had to raise his trust level above 30 points before that day arrived. On the way back, they encountered some adventurers who were also returning from the wilds. All of them had hunted magical creatures for a day, looking travel-worn, with their boots covered in dust. Many adventurers carried oversized backpacks that contained valuable parts of magical creatures' corpses. Although the demon core was the most valuable, and everything else was a small profit, lower-tier adventurers still had to cut those things out and sell them back in White Dove City to make a living. Linda and Kaphne had gained dozens of demon cores on this trip, which was something adventurers of the same level wouldn't even dare to dream of. "It's Eye of Wisdom, sir. Are you also here to hunt magical creatures? I heard you're planning to establish a new adventure team. Can I join?" Many adventurers greeted Linda, and he smiled back in response. Some wanted to join his squad, but they seemed quite average in strength and were politely declined by him. System prompt, which Lulu's trust towards you has increased by 3, current trust level -6, slight disgust. It went up? Linda looked at the sudden notification with some surprise and turned towards the short-haired girl who seemed indifferent to the surroundings. He thought that the enthusiastic attitude of those adventurers towards him might have made Lulu believe he was a good person. Just then, the adventurers walking away whispered amongst themselves. White Dove Morning News reported he became the ultimate pervert. I didn't quite believe it, but now I do. Yeah, how come all the beauties in the city are flocking to him? That beast man will probably get deceived and taken advantage, too. Sigh. First the 3 from the Snow Goose adventure team, and then the 2 beside him. He truly lives up to being the ultimate pervert, never repeating the same woman. Yesterday's event in the Inner City District Adventurers Guild, where Linda embraced Aiko, was already common knowledge throughout the city. Team leader Leah of Snow Goose was depicted by unscrupulous reporters as someone who left in anger upon finding out her teammate Aiko had cheated with Linda. Not only that, the underage Corona might have also fallen prey, and now Lind had set his sights on a new target, ISA, preparing to turn her into his Star Fury. Overnight, Linda's title of Eye of Wisdom had been replaced by Ultimate Pervert. System prompt, which Lulu's trust towards you has decreased by 15, current trust level -21, dislike. Linda was speechless. What ultimate pervert? Those were all lies. Lulu seemed to be giving off an increasingly colder vibe, and the distance between them inadvertently grew by half a meter. That's not the case, Linda said. There's no need for explanations, Lulu frowned. When I caught up earlier, you and that blonde, you were planning on doing that sort of thing, right? Figures, giving you the ultimate pervert. Actually, that can be explained, too. It's not necessary. Linda looked at the slightly decreased trust level and was somewhat worried. He decided to shift the topic away from the ultimate pervert and took the opportunity to try and get some answers from Lulu. Could you tell me about your team leader? I seem to bear a strong resemblance to him. Linda coughed and said, "You want to know what his game character looked like in the eyes of his team members?" Captain, Lulu's head lifted slightly, drawn to the topic. Taking advantage of the momentum, Linda feigned great interest. Right. You seem to really despise him. What did he do? Lulu let out a taunting laugh. Unclear whether it was directed at the captain or at herself. Seeing that he got no answer, Linda changed his approach. What kind of person is your captain? Having such a powerful team member like you, he must be proud. He intentionally used reverse psychology to provoke her into revealing the truth. In the game's backstory, This was a rather impulsive beastman girl. She had been caught and sold to the slave market for talking back to nobles in defense of a friend, and the player's character, cheered on by the crowd, happily forked out 50 gold coins to buy her freedom. Proud? Oomph. Of that kind of person? In his eyes, all team members are nothing but tools. Lulu's voice carried a heavy resentment. Isn't your captain supposed to be a very good person? Linda pretended to be surprised. Lou sneered. He's nothing but a magic-operated machine, utterly inhuman. Doesn't everyone have their oddities? Linda looked at the girl with a slightly questioning expression. He's different. Lulu, reminded of the past, angrily kicked a stone on the ground, sending it flying hundreds of meters away and hitting a small mound, kicking up a cloud of dust. Linda wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. After cooling down for a while, Lulu continued. That man can't be described as normally strange. Weird would be more accurate. I bet he's definitely not as weird as my old captain. No matter how strange your old captain might be in your eyes, everyone else seems normal compared to that man. Lulu, riled up by Linda, finally opened up, furrowing her brows and speaking with simmering anger. He acts like a magical machine, using his team members as expendable tools. Never seen him eating, nor does he sit down. He's always standing. Doesn't sit down? Linda scratched his head. It wasn't his fault since the Mystic Continent game chairs didn't have a sitting function. But the strangest thing about him is when he sleeps. That guy, he sleeps so deeply that hitting him elicits no response. The team even jokes that the captain, when asleep, is invincible. Even a mage's fire blast can't hurt him. Lulu's voice carried a mix of hatred and amusement as she spoke of the incident with the fire blast, the frost on her face thawing slightly. In contrast, Linda couldn't help but think. Once the character logs off, they're in an invincible state. Not just fire blast, but even the forbidden curse like meteorite technique can't harm an offline character in the slightest. Through their conversation, he learned quite a bit from Lulu's words. The experiences of the game character he controlled in the game world had turned into reality. Even his character's meaningless action of spinning in circles had actually taken place. In his team members' eyes, his character was like a robot. It didn't eat, couldn't sit down, slept like it was dead, and was impervious to attacks, a veritable oddball. It's worth mentioning that Mystic Continent is a wholesome game suitable for teenagers, with its affection points more appropriately described as bonding events, lacking any salacious fan service scenes. Linda transferred his soul into his game character 3 years ago, but why he became a level 0 healer and appeared in White Dove City, the starting map for beginners, was something he still couldn't understand. Perhaps after I beat this game, I'll find the answer. Withdrawing his thoughts, Linda said to Lulu with a sympathetic face, It seems that your old team captain was indeed a strange character. But don't worry, I'm different from your old captain. I will cherish every member of our team. System prompt, which Lulu's trust levels +11, current trust level, -10, slight aversion. Linda accepted this unexpected gift without batting an eyelid. The three headed in the direction of White Dove City, with Lulu leading the way and Linda slightly behind. On his left was a nervous Kaphne, constantly tensing with divine power, on guard for any strange behavior from Lulu. You go ahead. Suddenly, Lulu furrowed her brow and touched the corner of her mouth. After discovering a bit of black blood on her finger, she paused for a moment, then said in a cold voice, looking down. What's wrong? Linda asked. I have some matters to deal with, Lulu said expressionlessly. You go ahead, I'll catch up soon. Linda found it strange, but Kaphne grabbed his wrist and gave a meaningful look, eager to get as far away from the witch as possible. Lulu waited on the spot for a while, making sure Linda and Kaphne had gone far. Then she slowly knelt on the ground. Her little face turned deathly white. Beads of sweat the size of soybeans poured down her forehead, and her tail curled up in severe pain. Black blood, like sewage, flowed from Lulu's mouth and nose. The veins under her skin became thick like live earthworms, twisting and wriggling grotesquely. Lulu's eyes widened, bloodshot, as she clutched her chest, her mouth wide open, but because the pain exceeded her tolerance, no sound came from her throat. A terrible thought flashed through her mind. It was the backlash from overusing the witch's powers when killing those paladins. But the backlash came on too quickly this time, and Lulu had thought it wouldn't start until the evening. She was relieved she had sent Li Cha and Kaphne away earlier. Otherwise, if the two discovered her weakness, she would be in danger. There was something very dangerous inside Kaphne. Lulu couldn't say what it was, but the consequences of getting hit by it were definitely bad. "I won't die easily before I meet that Linda from the Snow Goose adventure team," she said. Lulu was driven by a complex sense of resentment to stay alive. She lay on the ground and crawled like a worm, using her hands, feet, and tail, and hid behind a small hill. Usually, such backlash would last for about 3 minutes. What was strange, however, was that this time the pain was much worse than before, and the black blood flowing from her mouth and nose was also much more than in the past. Lulu took out a bunch of bottles and jars of liquid from the pouch on her belt and poured them clumsily into her mouth. A potion that could relieve the symptoms. But it had a severe side effect. It would exacerbate the corruption inside her body after a while. She had no choice now but to take it. Lulu gritted her teeth in secret, thinking that no matter what, she wouldn't die before she met that Linda from White Dove City and confirmed if he was that machine-like captain of the adventure team. For 3 years, she had found dozens of adventurers named Linda. Without exception, none of them were the right person. But this time, Lulu had a strong hunch. As if guided by the hands of fate, it was very likely that Linda from White Dove City was the one she was looking for. "You want to go back and check? Are you crazy? Why should you care about that beast man? Your XP is acting weird. By the way, you're keeping something from me, aren't you?" Having just walked out of the barren plains, Linda and Kaphne got into an argument. The cause was simple. Linda suddenly suggested that he wanted to go back and check why the beast man, which hadn't caught up with him. Kaphne objected. It would be best to shake her off and never see her again. That would be for the best. A witch above level 25 was not something they could handle. Linda said, "She's essentially part of our team now. We can't just abandon her." "Teammate? She only joined to monitor us, to kill us. And it seems she knows you. What's going on here, and why don't I know about it? You have a history with a witch." Kaphne exclaimed, frustrated. Linda did not answer. The matters of Mystic Continent, this game, he would tell no one. His plan to double back and look for Lulu was not about increasing trust or anything of the sort. It was purely out of concern. When Linda saw Lulu talk about her days with the primitive adventure team with a face full of warmth and nostalgia, he couldn't help but feel a myriad of emotions. If Lulu, as a game character, were just a bunch of cold data written by people, then whatever the player did wouldn't be excessive, and there would be no psychological burden. But when Linda entered the game world of Mystic Continent, where all characters, NPCs, became real, the things he did to Lulu seemed somewhat cruel, to the point where she even became a witch after 3 years. In this world, the prerequisite for becoming a witch was a girl harboring a strong desire, who hears the whispers of the Demon King and is willing to pay a huge price to make a contract with him. Linda didn't know what Lulu specifically desired, but it was very likely related to him. It was him, as a player, who rescued Lulu from the slavers about to sell her to human nobles, trained her as an adventurer, and gave the girl hope. But after level 15, the attacks from the magical creatures were too strong, making Lulu, a fragile warrior, useless. He stripped her of her gear, sold it, enhanced other characters, and kicked Lulu directly out of the team. Anyone would probably question their life, and end it all in despair. Was she seeking revenge against him, the unfeeling team leader, or aiming to become a powerful 5-star character to gain his approval? Either way, it was related to Linda. As they say, the one who tied the knot must be the one to untie it. Linda, having come to the game world, felt it his responsibility as a player to save those characters he had abandoned. So, Linda had to go back to sea and to invite Lulu to join the team again. This time, it was not a cunning invitation made to prevent combat. It was an invitation from Adventure Team Captain, asking Lulu to become his teammate and advance with him towards the top of the world tree. Kaphne, I must go. Linda threw off Kaphne's hand. The wind over the wilderness was bracing. Linda left behind the blonde deity and headed toward the barren plains in search of the witch. He was truly the model of a hero. Kaphne, eyes practically sparking with anger, fidgeted awkwardly for a while, then hurriedly followed. With her trace of divine power there, she could at least ensure the witch wouldn't act rashly. Linda didn't expect Kaphne to follow him, and was surprised. Thank you. Who made me a deity? It's a deity's duty to help a hero, sighed Kaphne. The two retraced their steps and arrived at the barren plains. Looking around, however, they could not find Lulu. Where is she? Linda felt puzzled. In the eyes of Lulu, Kaphne and I must be eliminated to silence witnesses and destroy evidence. How could she simply leave us and flee? Linda's mind raced through various possibilities, such as Lulu being chased by enemies or having a stomachache that required her to get to the toilet. Or perhaps Aunt Flo had arrived. Look over there. Kaphne made a discovery and pointed in surprise at a sticky black substance on the ground. Originally buried in the sand, Kaphne could feel a strong, evil aura emanating from it. Just like a dog that had caught the scent of poop, she quickly pinpointed it. Linda approached and prodded the black substance with a stick. The stick hissed and smoked, a piece eaten away by the corrosive substance. Yikes, what is this? Linda's eyes narrowed. Kaphne said, there's a strong, evil aura inside, belonging to the demons. I guess it's the blood of a witch. What? Linda frowned. Seeing this bloodstain, he immediately understood why Lulu had told them to go ahead. Using her powers was not without cost for a witch. Combining this with the bloody scent that wafted from Scorching Gorge earlier, some things were not hard to deduce. Lulu was in a bad state, worried that in her weakness, she might be attacked by Kaphne. Linda's mind worked rapidly. He had Kaphne use divine power to sense Lulu's location, while he carefully reached out his hand to touch the black pool of blood on the ground. If he wasn't mistaken, his skill, which Purification, should have an effect on this black blood. If this attempt succeeded, Linda would be much more confident about handling what came next. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Seeing him reach towards the ominous black blood, Kaphne was startled and rushed over to stop him. By then, witch Purification had already been activated. Linda's palm turned a life-giving shade of emerald green. The soft glow fell upon the surface of the black blood, and a miracle occurred. The filthy black bloodstain was washed away as if by clean water, revealing its true form as regular red blood, just like that of any other person. Witch Purification was indeed miraculous. Linda's confidence surged, and he looked at Kaphne seriously. Find the witch's location quickly. I need to purify her. Kaphne realized Linda's intentions, and a hint of joy flashed across her face. The two set to work. Linda couldn't sense the witch's aura and could only rely on his eyes, while Kaphne sniffed around like a hunting dog, sniffing left and right. About a minute later, Kaphne lived up to expectations and made a discovery. Over here. Hearing the shout, Linda quickly ran over. Right here. Kaphne pointed to a small mound. But isn't this place empty? Linda wondered, puzzled. As he observed carefully, he spotted an anomaly. Right in the center of the mound, there was evidence of digging by claws of a beast and then covering it back up. The soil there was noticeably looser. Quite cautious. No different from a beast. Even when licking its wounds, it seeks a secluded spot. But, sorry, Linda would dig her out. Linda approached the mound, and with a fierce swipe of his hands, he pushed all the loose earth to one side. And then he saw it, a fluffy wolf tail. But at this moment, the wolf tail wasn't as bushy and relaxed as usual, looking soft to the touch. Instead, it was shrunk and tucked between the legs. Lulu herself was curled up like a pill bug, her whole body trembling violently. Linda bent down and peered into the depths of the crude cave. With the faint light coming in from the entrance, he could see that Lulu's face was devoid of color. The Beastman girl was biting her lip tightly, with black traces of blood seeping from her mouth and nose. She recognized Linda's arrival, but couldn't react. The intense pain left her only capable of lying in the cave, shivering. -100, -104, -109. Dark purple numbers indicating damage continuously popped up above Lulu's head. Linda's expression grew much graver. At this rate, Lulu might very well bleed out to death. He reached out with his palm and cast a healing art towards her. A green +280 appeared above Lulu's head. Admittedly, this amount of healing was high for a level 7 recovery series adventurer. But the problem was, with Lulu losing 100 hit points every second, Linda's healing of 280 hit points was as good as scratching an itch that couldn't be reached. System notification, which Lulu's trust in you +5. This message steadied Linda's heart. Relax. Let me look at your body. I'm here to help you, he said. To avoid any misunderstanding, Linda gave a verbal warning before touching Lulu. System notification, which Lulu's trust in you -6. How could it decrease more than it increased? In the urgent situation, Linda didn't realize his phrasing was a mistake, but instead grasped Lulu's waist to lay her flat on her back, making it easier for the subsequent procedures. Huff, huff. Heavy breathing sounds became especially noticeable in the cramped cave. Lulu symbolically kicked at Linda's touch and then ran out of strength. Linda didn't mind it at all and examined the girl's body carefully. He noticed that her hands were firmly clutching the position of her heart, and it dawned on him. The witch's setup was exactly the same as in the game. In the game, players had to pay the gaming company 648 yuan monthly to continue using the class of the witch, and if they stopped paying, the witch would succumb to shadows, leaving behind only a corrupted pet beast egg. This setting, once turned into reality, would be automatically translated to fit the world's current view. Linda had read in a miscellaneous book that witches were described thus. The source of corruption came from the fallen insect that the demon King Satan planted in the girls' hearts at the time of contract formation. The fallen insect would grow with the witch. The higher the witch's level, the faster the fallen insect would grow. To hasten the day it would hatch, the insect would desperately grant power to the witch. When the fallen insect matured, it would devour the witch, turning into a fallen beast capable of destroying an entire human city. Utterly vicious and cruel, the Demon King lured the unknowing witches with soothing murmurs, turning them into human bombs ready to explode at any moment. In the game, one might simply lament the loss of a character, but in reality, Linda truly disapproved of the Demon King's actions, heartless and deserving of relentless retribution. Lulu, relax your body. Open your heart. I'm coming. Linda took a deep breath and loudly warned her near her ear. Despite suffering from the torment of the fallen insect, this earth-shattering statement still startled her back to a brief moment of lucid consciousness. Her complexion changed drastically, and she kicked her foot at Linda's head. Get away, you sneaky human who takes advantage of others' perils. Lulu's voice was extremely weak, and her kicking leg didn't have much strength. Linda directly hugged the nimble and well-shaped right leg in his arms, pressed it to the ground, and used his knee to pin it down, preventing any movement during the purification that might wound him unintentionally. Enhance. You. Lulu propped herself up with difficulty, taking deep breaths, her face full of rage as she glared at Linda. She resembled a girl with a 40-degree fever, putting up a feeble resistance. Linda didn't pay her any mind and said to Kaphne behind him, "Keep watch. Don't let the other adventurers come this way. I'm about to start." Oh, Kaphne glanced at Linda with a worried look. If that Beastman girl bites you to death, remember to scream for help in advance. Having said this, Kaphne sat on a small mound to keep guard, while Linda thrust forward abruptly, diving into the cave like a swordfish. The land of the barren plains was dry and blistering hot, and Linda felt as if he were next to a piece of human-shaped charcoal. The worsening pollution had caused Lulu's body temperature to rise. At this rate, it was very likely to burn up her blood vessels and even her magic circuit. The Beastman girl didn't know what Linda climbing up was intended to do and stabbed her beast claws toward Linda's throat in panic. But at that moment, she was too weak, and Linda easily caught one of her hands and pinned it to the ground. "Don't move. I'm trying to help you," Linda uttered sternly, his gaze fixed seriously on Lulu as he searched for the entry point for purification. Lulu's body, however, trembled with embarrassment and anger. Her struggle was futile, and the pollution within her intensified. The fallen insect in her heart, sensing its host's impending demise, began to throb with excitement, preparing to break free from its shell. Everything was going terribly wrong, but that was also good. Lulu thought bitterly. Let this insidious human intending to defile her be devoured by the fallen beast, serving as her funeral accompaniment. At this moment, Linda finally found the most suitable entry point. He said, "Only by having something on you will you not trust me and sincerely join my team, right?" What was this guy talking about? Lulu couldn't understand at all and was confused. Didn't he realize she wasn't an ordinary beastman, but a witch beastman with witch power, known as Catastrophe Girl? Sincerely join his team? What a joke. Lulu only wanted to slit his and Kaphne's throats when they weren't paying attention. "So, I will expose my own vulnerability," Linda said calmly. What on earth was he talking about? Lulu was even more confused. She saw Linda extend his right hand towards her slowly. This human's voice was deep and resonant, carrying a strange magic power that made her involuntarily think of another person. His gaze was just like the merciless team leader who had used her up and kicked her out of the team with a cold boot. Before Lulu could ponder any further, a growl came from above her. "Which, grab onto my vulnerability. This power will lead you to a bright future." Linda, without hesitation, pried open Lulu's mouth and stuffed his fingers in. Ugh! Lulu was shocked, furious, and flustered, the intensity of her emotions stronger than the pain brought on by the pollution flare-up. What was this human doing? This was his vulnerability? To grab a bright future by holding his finger in her mouth? Lulu thought to herself that if she survived today, she would never let this treacherous human go unpunished. And of course, Linda wasn't making an indecorous advance. Putting his finger in was a well-considered decision. The degree of which purification equaled trust plus contact. Lulu's trust in him was negative. The purification effect was too weak. So the only option was to increase the contact. The fallen insect was located in the witch's heart. The closer to the heart, the better the purification effect. All things considered, aside from the unusable 11th finger, Linda's approach was the best choice. It just looks easily misunderstood, that's all. The sensation from his fingers was incredibly peculiar. Linda felt as if he had entered a warm, wet, and slippery water park, where a cute little beast was resisting him. But with his formidable strength, he easily subdued it. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck. Tears of humiliation welled up in Lulu's deep blue eyes as she glared at him with a look that could kill, her mouth biting down sharply on her own palm. Her teeth pierced the skin, and blood, rich in color, began to flow, trickling into Lulu's mouth. Linda felt an agonizing pain, but he couldn't afford to explain himself to Lulu, who probably wouldn't listen to his explanation anyway. Only personal action could prove that he hadn't meant any disrespect to her. Linda's mind focused on the core of his spirit world. All 7 stars that hung like sentinels in the night sky lit up at once, channeling all his magic power into his body. "Purification, activate," Linda silently called out. The magic circuit glowed, and as it operated at full capacity, his entire right arm turned into a lively green color. It was the purest essence of life, like the rain of spring or the dew of summer. The moment this light appeared, Lulu, beneath him, twitched, and a sudden lightness in her body brought an incredulous expression to her face. Despite being slight, Lulu distinctly felt some of the tainted blood in her body, blackened by fallen insect pollution, being purified. The fallen insect in her heart seemed to sense danger, frantically still like an insect facing a bird, cautiously hiding away. The pain was lessening, and her strength was gradually returning. What kind of magical power was this? The damned insects within the witch were familiars of demon King Satan. To purify Satan's familiars, wasn't that proof that this human's purification power was even greater than the demon king's? Lulu looked at Linda in shock, seeing the man drenched in sweat, his entire focus apparently on casting the spell. The hand pushed inside her mouth was a vibrant green. Warmth kept flowing into her body, like a weary traveler sitting in front of a hearth during a great snow, with a cup of piping hot coffee in hand, comfort seeping into the very bones. Undoubtedly, the improvement in her condition came from his help. But why did this human have such miraculous power, and why help her? Not long ago, Lulu had meant to kill him. It was Kaphne's presence that made her abandon the thought. Yet, deep down, she was still planning to seize an opportunity to dispose of the two of them, to avoid future troubles. Lulu couldn't understand the reason behind his help. She hesitated for a moment, then released the bite on Linda's palm. The blood from the wound, with a hint of sweetness amidst the metallic taste, fell into her mouth. As a werewolf, Lulu couldn't help but swallow, consuming the blood that had flowed. A twinge of guilt flickered within her. Her teeth were rather sharp, after all. Time ticked by, second by second. The emerald glow from the witch purification illuminated the cave. This hastily dug-out cave was both small and crude. Two people crammed inside left hardly any room to spare. Inevitably, they clung together like two damp cloths. Mostly, it was the uncomfortable heat of sweat. For Lulu, this adventurer, after fighting magical creatures all day, reeked of sweat, an unbearable stench. With her slight obsession with cleanliness, she could do nothing but endure. Lulu could almost sense the breathing from above. Linda's fingers still in her mouth, her pair of deep blue eyes unsure where to look, simply closed them. Long eyelashes swayed with the girl's breathing. Her light blue short hair spread on the ground like tender petals of a blossom. Her white forehead, cheeks, and neck were all covered in sweat. Intermingled with her body's scent, it intertwined with Linda's breath, creating a strangely stimulating, addictive scent. Linda examined the girl with her eyes closed and couldn't help but silently exclaim, "She is much prettier in person than in the game's 3D models." The charm and cuteness of the werewolf race are subtly blended together. But he knew, now was not the time to daydream. If Lulu noticed anything unusual about him, his hand in the wolf's mouth might not be safe. During the purification process, Linda's system messages flooded his screen. Which Lulu's trust plus 10, current trust 0, stranger. Trust plus 10, trust plus 6, trust plus 15, current trust 31, courtesy greeting. As trust increased, so did the strength of the purification, forming a positive cycle. Not only that, but with 3 major increases in trust, Linda received system rewards. System alert, trust increased to 0 stranger. Reward 100 mystical points. System alert, trust increased to 10 acquaintance. Reward purple rare equipment. Walnut wood magic sword. System alert, trust increased to 20 knot of acquaintance. Reward purple rare item. Large explosion stone. System alert, trust increased to 30 courtesy greeting. Reward 1,000 experience points. The 1,000 experience points felt like an enlightening infusion, entering Linda's body as a ray of golden light struck his head. Thus, Linda, who was on Lulu's body, leveled up under her stupefied gaze. The werewolf girl, probably having never seen nor heard of an adventurer leveling up on someone's belly, stared at Linda with a bewildered look. Meanwhile, Linda checked the system rewards. 1,000 experience points allowed him to level up from 7 to 8, and he was left with 300 experience points. System alert, strength plus 13, magic power plus 13, defense plus 2, magic defense plus 3, agility plus 2, hit points plus 200, skill points plus 1, next level experience, 300/1500. Farming a witch was even faster than grinding monsters. Linda thought to himself, Half a minute later, his magic power was nearly spent, and he stopped the purification. The green hue of his arm also returned to normal. Lulu lay calmly on the ground. Her wolf tail, like a sweeping broom, moved swiftly side to side, scraping a curved pit on the ground. Linda's heart rate increased as he carefully withdrew his fingers. They brought with them strands of glittering liquid. Just at the moment they passed over Lulu's chest, they broke. They fell with a plop in between. Linda was drenched in sweat. But surprisingly, Lulu was not annoyed and looked at him calmly. "I am grateful for your help. And also, can you move off quickly?" As Linda heard the sound of a wolf's tail sweeping in the cave, growing louder and stirring up dust, he knew Lulu was not as calm as she appeared. If he didn't get up soon, there might indeed be a risk. Leaving the warm body behind, Linda felt an inexplicable reluctance. Although Lulu seemed cold, her body was actually very soft and petite, just the right size for Mahold. The feel of the beastman's fuzzy tail must also be great. Yet this pleasant thought made Linda sigh, knowing that once Lulu reached White Dove City, it wouldn't take long for her to find out he was Linda. By then, friendly hugs would be the least of his worries, fearing that those beastly claws might mercilessly attack his throat. The current trust level is 30 points, courtesy greeting. Hopefully, these 30 points of trust would make Lulu give up on attacking. While thinking this, Linda crawled out of the cave. After a while, Lulu tidied up her disheveled clothes and followed suit. Kaphne sat on a small hill, curiously propping her chin with her hands as she looked toward them. The atmosphere had changed. Even if Linda told her about the sounds from the small hill, that he was fighting the witch, she would believe him. This hero seemed to be quite capable. "I think we need to find a place to talk," Lulu said, hands in her pockets, chewing on a piece of gum, and glancing at Linda with an uneasy expression. "Why do you have that kind of power, and what is your purpose in helping me?" Those were indeed not topics suitable for discussion outdoors, as it would be bad if someone overheard. Linda vaguely responded, "You must have caught on to my vulnerability, right?" Lulu was startled. After a moment of thought, she understood what the vulnerability referred to. The miraculous power to purify witches was indeed a powerful vulnerability. Once the news got out, Linda would face an unprecedented, brutal manhunt from the demon realm. How could the demon realm allow their human bombs to be purified one by one? Taking the Demon King's power without doing the right thing is like freeloading. Linda was like a large eraser, able to wipe out the contract bindings inside the witches. The consequences of the exposure would put Linda in danger. But Lulu still couldn't grasp the reason for his actions. What was he plotting? The three of them, each preoccupied with their thoughts, hurried back to White Dove City. Sparrow District, a certain hotel. This was probably the most upscale hotel in Sparrow District. The living room was spacious and brightly lit by magic lamps. Linda and Kaphne checked whether there were any recording stones or anything of the sort. Certain despicable adventurers, to eavesdrop on others, would set up recording stones in hidden places in small hotels. They truly deserved death and should be thrown into the Goblin Cave for severe punishment. As Linda and his companion checked, the sound of splashing water came from the adjacent bathroom. Lulu, who had been pinned to the ground in the cave for quite a while, and whose body bore contaminated black blood and dirt, consequently went to bathe. The first thing she did upon renting the hotel room. A cold voice came from the bathroom. "If you dare to peep, I won't let you off." "I'm not interested in flat surfaces," Linda said helplessly as he sat on the sofa to rest after finishing the inspection. In a bathroom, a bundle of chest-binding bandages lay discarded in a wooden basket full of clothes. A short-haired girl with a furry tail propped her right hand against the wall, covering her freed, ample chest, and pursed her lips as she stared at her reflection in the life-sized mirror. Her wheat-colored skin was healthy and vibrant, her waist full of explosive power, devoid of any excess fat. Lulu weighed her front, and her expression darkened. Flat. She wished it were so. Too large was actually a hindrance in battle. But she didn't rebut, nor did she understand Linda's disdain for flat surfaces. At that moment, the warm water of the shower wet Lulu's hair, which clung damply to her cheeks. She absent-mindedly cleaned the stains on her skin while lightly touching her lips with her other hand. They seemed to still retain the salty taste of Linda's sweat, along with a strong sensation of the unusual. The bad act he committed was actually just to save her. The ability to purify pollution inside a witch was called something Linda alone knew, and why he possessed it, Lulu was completely unaware. And why he exposed this ability to save her was also a mystery. The other party knew she had been to Scorching Gorge. Wait a few more days, and when the news of the paladin's death reached White Dove City, it would be easy to connect it to her. Once this got out, Lulu's eyes flashed coldly. She bared her fangs and looked towards the white wall opposite the bathroom. That was the living room, where she could make a sudden move while the other two were off guard. She was 50% confident. Only, Lulu hesitated at this thought. After all, Li Cha had saved her, and she wasn't heartless or ungrateful. She knew how to repay favors. But she really couldn't understand why the other party had saved her. To notify the Holy Light Church in secret, to capture her alive and claim the bounty. The reward for her capture wasn't small at all. Roar! The girl's throat let out a wolf-like growl of annoyance that she couldn't suppress, and she gently pounded her fist against the fog-covered wall. The ample fruits shook with the movement. She couldn't see through that detestable human's thoughts. It felt like she had walked into a trap, yet she couldn't find any evidence. A frustration that made her feel defeated. Was Li Cha hiding something? Was he really the Linda she was looking for? When Lulu was pinned down in the cave by that person, she had originally intended to bite off his fingers with all her might, but it was a look he inadvertently gave that frightened her. It was the same look as the captain of the Primordial Adventure Team, the cold and cruel look of Linda, who treated his members like a machine, liking to weed out the useless members batch by batch. This fear was etched deep into Lulu's bones, and all members of the Primordial Adventure Team feared their captain. On one hand, Lulu admired the other's rational decisiveness, able to issue various commands in the face of an imminent attack from magical creatures. But on the other hand, this Linda, the captain's attitude towards team members, was almost like a master towards slaves. Anyone falling behind, even slightly, would be kicked into the logistics team. If their second performance still wasn't up to the mark, they'd be directly driven away with their equipment confiscated. Some were simply transferred to other teams. Lulu had been scared by that look so reminiscent of Linda, so her phobia kicked in, and she felt the contamination in her body being purified. She gave up resisting, and let that large hand, like a dentist, move around in her mouth unchecked. Now that she reflected on it, Lulu harbored some doubt about whether Li Cha was Linda. She planned to first pay a visit to the Snow Goose adventure team in the inner city district to see if the Snow Goose's Linda was the Linda she was searching for. If he was, it would mean Li Cha hadn't lied to her. If not, she would have to thoroughly investigate Li Cha. 5 minutes later, Lulu had finished her bath. Born into a poor beastman family, she had the good virtue of thriftiness and had cleaned herself efficiently in just 5 minutes. Picking up the bands of bandages from the floor, she rewrapped the useless excess fat around her. And as Lulu put on her clothes, she thought to herself that she would stay in that person's squad to hide until she had finished her business in White Dove City. While Lulu was washing up in the bathroom, Linda and Kaphne had already sat down to rest. The two of them were eating grapes bought along the way, drinking hot water, and lying in a soft, large sofa, suddenly feeling much less exhausted from hunting magical creatures. Linda was checking the rewards he had received for raising Lulu's trust level, while Kaphne was holding several shiny demon cores, her mouth not stopping for a moment. The grapes bought along the way quickly consumed by the handfuls. If not for some divine power in that deity, it really would have turned into a scrap god. Linda sighed. His attention was focused on the personal interface of the system. At the bottom, there was a section called Warehouse, where he could store the rewards given by the system. In the warehouse, there were 2 items. He clicked to inspect the first item. Name, Walnutwood Magic Sword. Type, Weapon, Sword/Magic Wand. Quality, Purple Rare. Level 10. Attribute points. Strength plus 160. Magic power plus 160. 10% increase enchanting speed. Agility plus 10. Equipment score 207. An excellent magic and melee dual-purpose weapon that wouldn't break even if used to bash a heavy armored warrior's head. Seeing the terrifying attributes of the walnut wood magic sword, Linda jolted upright on the couch. A dual attack boost of 160 was outrageous. His current rusty one-handed sword only added 10 points to strength. His personal basic attributes currently were dual attack 103. Wearing this walnut wood magic sword would more than double his combat prowess. High-quality equipment is truly formidable. When I worked as a healer, I always used blue rare gear. I've never used purple. Linda sighed internally. The Snow Goose Adventure Team's common funds gave priority to Leah, Aiko, and Corona, with their main weapons all being of purple rare quality, depleting the common funds and causing Linda to use only blue equipment. "What's gotten into you?" Kaphne, seeing his sudden surprise, said annoyedly. "Just thought of something exciting." Linda planned to wait until he was away from the witch in the bathroom, and then tell Kaphne about the walnut wood magic sword, pretending it was his innate skill. Even Kaphne was not to know about the system's existence. This secret, like being a transmigrator, Linda didn't plan to tell anyone. "The walnut wood magic sword is level 10. I have to be at level 10 to wear it, and I'm only level 8. I'll just store it in the warehouse for now." Linda thought privately as he inspected the second loyalty reward. Name: Large Explosion Stone. Type: Item, Attack Class, Magic. Quality: Purple Rare. Item level: 20. Items differ from equipment. Adventurers of any level can use them. Description: causes a large explosion with a 20-meter radius, based on the adventurer's magic power, inflicting greatly increased damage with a maximum equivalent to a level 20 ultimate skill. Two keywords in the item's description stood out to Linda: greatly increased and ultimate skill. In his mind, Linda recalled the basic function introduction from the Mystic Continent game, where damage was described in various terms. Minor damage, based on the adventurer's strength or magic power, causing 0 to 100% damage. Moderate damage, 1 to 2 times the adventurer's strength or magic power. Fairly high, 2 to 4 times. High, 4 to 6 times. The damage from the large explosion stone was classified as greatly increased, which was 6 to 10 times Linda's magic power value. The large explosion stone had an upper damage limit, equivalent to a level 20 adventurer's ultimate skill. All of an adventurer's skills are divided into 2 categories: common skills and ultimate skills. The former can be used multiple times, like Linda's Venom Magic Sphere, which has a low consumption and can be used 10 times in full force. But ultimate skills often consume a lot, causing the magic circuit to overheat after being activated. An ultimate skill can usually be used only once in a battle, and very rarely twice. When the description of the skills is the same, the high damage from an ultimate skill greatly surpasses that of a high damage common skill. Therefore, the power of Linda's large explosion stone was roughly equivalent to Ice Flower Adventure Team's ISA using her level 20 ultimate skill, Ice Blade Waltz, to kill the armored turtle snake during a live strategy session. Linda nodded silently. This item was indeed what he needed. A high-powered, burst damage, area of effect trump card. Although he had Kaphne, the behemoth of destruction, at his side, Kaphne's divine power could only be used once, and who knows how long it would take to recharge. During the recharging period, Kaphne would become a useless invalid. The cost was a bit high. The large explosion stone could serve as Linda's regular trump card, without any negative effects. He quietly clicked on the system inventory and materialized the large explosion stone into the palm of his hand. It was a dice-sized, red, cube-shaped crystal. Touching it, he could feel the terrifying temperature contained within. All Linda had to do was channel magic power into it and throw it to cause a powerful explosion. Good stuff. Linda carefully placed it into a special pouch on his belt, secured the button, and prevented accidental activation. Then, he opened the skill tree page. He had reached level 8 and had 6 in used skill points. He left 2 skill points just in case. It was like playing League of Legends where you don't add a point at level 2, waiting to see which skill would be needed before adding it. There were 4 skill points available for use. Linda's gaze turned to the Poison Technique series skill tree. The second layer of skills had been unlocked at level 5, Spiky Thorn Armor and Poison Resistance. Linda clicked to view them. Spiky Thorn Armor covers the body with spike-like magic power, increasing physical defense by 30% and reflecting 10% of damage. Poison Resistance reduces damage received from poison series by 30%. Both were very practical skills. The former reminded Linda of Thorn Armor in League of Legends, where tanky characters could wear Thorn Armor, stand still, and reflect the enemy carries damage back to them. A healing hero was a tank-type character, suitable for this Thorn Armor skill. The second skill, Poison Resistance, was also extremely useful. A 30% damage reduction was significant, and he estimated it could reach 50% when fully upgraded. Linda spent 2 skill points to learn the skills. System notification. You have acquired new skills, Spiky Thorn Armor and Poison Resistance. With the remaining 2 available skill points, Linda invested them in the Recovery Series skill tree. The first layer's 2 skills were Intermediate Healing Spell and Self-Healing. Linda learned Self-Healing. The skill description was envelop oneself with magic power, recovering a small amount of hit points every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. Regenerating health paired with Thorn Armor was a perfect match. He looked upward, reaching the second layer of the Recovery Series skill tree. There was only one skill, Mass Minor Healing Spell. The Recovery Series skill tree seemed geared towards the later stages, lacking any strong skills in the early game, Linda thought. He didn't need the Mass Minor Healing Spell for now and could add it when necessary. He invested the 1 remaining available skill point into the offensive skill, Venom Magic Sphere. After adding points, the icon for the Venom Magic Sphere deepened in color. The description also changed accordingly. Skill, Venom Magic Sphere. Current proficiency, LV2 proficiency. Effect, fires a Venom Magic Sphere straight ahead, with medium travel speed, causing high damage to the target, inflicting damage once per second, lasting 6 seconds, and can be stacked up to 1 layer. The duration increased from 5 seconds to 6 seconds, and the stackable layers went from 0 to 1. Linda nodded with satisfaction. The Venom Magic Sphere had reached a 2nd level proficiency, a qualitative improvement. He had just thrown out 2 Venom Magic Spheres and was able to hang back and wait for the magical creatures to bleed out and die. Leaving 2 skill points in reserve, Linda closed the system interface. He saw Kaphne looking delighted. What good thing happened? Kaphne proudly puffed out her ample chest. Me, a level 8 thief, has mastered a powerful attack skill. What? Poison Explosion Dagger. Attacks poisoned enemies and deals double damage. There's also Dagger Scatter, throwing out 3 daggers to inflict area damage. Kaphne laughed. This deity has the ability to take down magical creatures on her own now. At last, I don't have to carry dead weight anymore, Linda sighed. Dead weight? All the demon cores were dug out by me, you know? Kaphne, irritated, rolled up her sleeves ready to scuffle with Linda. At that moment, the bathroom door swung open, sparing Kaphne, who was overestimating her strength. The 2 of them put away their teasing demeanor and watched the Beastmen girl warily. No one could be certain about what she was thinking at the moment. After seeing the ability of Witch Purification, was she planning to become friends with them or continue to be an enemy? Linda looked over and saw Lulu, with beads of water on her short hair after bathing, and steam rising from her supple skin. He caught a whiff of a faint scent that drifted over. The girl chewed on a slime chewing gum, hands in her pockets, tail drooping at a spot slightly higher than her ankles, calmly walking to the other side of the table and pulling up a chair to sit down. Why did you save me? Lulu scrutinized them with questioning eyes and asked straightforwardly. Kaphne stood by as if facing a formidable enemy, fine threads of golden light emerging in her eyes, ready to use divine power at any moment. Linda put his hand on Kaphne's shoulder and shook his head. But Kaphne wasn't reassured. However, unable to withstand Linda's firm attitude, she reluctantly retracted her divine power. If things go south, I'm not responsible. Kaphne stepped back to a safer distance, ready to step in if something happened. But Linda's move was not reckless. In the game, Lulu's personal profile described her as a beastman girl who valued loyalty and friendship. She wouldn't have stood up against nobility to protect her friend and ended up as a slave otherwise. He had saved her life, and with Kaphne, the powerhouse, by his side, both sentimentally and logically, Lulu wouldn't lay a hand on him. Of course, understanding this and achieving it were two different things. Linda's composure caused Lulu some surprise and also earned Linda a system prompt, which Lulu's trust level +3, current trust level 33, courtesy greeting. Linda casually replied, "No particular reason, just felt like it, so I happened to save you." Lulu shook her head, gazing into his eyes. "I don't believe you." If it were himself, he wouldn't believe it either. Linda thought to himself, revealing the power of which purification just to save a stranger, which, if he were Lulu, he would suspect the other party was either lusting after his body or had an ulterior motive. Anyway, there had to be a reason. It wasn't likely for someone to be so benevolent as to just happen to save you. But Linda couldn't possibly tell Lulu that it was to make up for what had happened to her in his past life's game, and that saving her would grant him a trust level bonus from the system. So he chose not to answer and instead took the initiative to ask, "So, what have you decided to do? Thank me, or, to keep your tracks hidden, take the two of us out?" Lulu had long lost the idea of fighting and killing. The hands hidden in her pockets never turned into beast claws. "I will leave White Dove City after some time," Lulu said. "If you truly have no ill intent and have not leaked my whereabouts, the day I leave White Dove City, we'll be even. I won't trouble you after that, as if we had never met." "Even?" Linda frowned. "I saved you once. How does that make us even?" Even if it meant using his favor to secure her loyalty, Linda had to keep Lulu with him. Witches generally don't live long, and during the purification, he could feel the mess inside Lulu. His right hand felt like it was plunged into a sludge, devoid of any clean soil. A witch on the brink of falling, Linda, as a hero, and as Lulu's former team leader, had a duty to purify her. "Then what do you want?" Lulu's voice was cold as she stopped chewing her gum. Linda said, "Stay in the team, become one of my team members." "Impossible." Lulu looked at him indifferently. "I won't join you in entering the World Tree. I joined the team to monitor you from leaking my secrets." Linda pondered, "Forget about the minor secret realm of the World Tree. The levels are too low, you wouldn't even be able to enter. But for the great mystery continent, you must participate as a team member under my command. In the World Tree Secret Realm, apart from every 5th level in the public Grand Secret Realm, adventurers could only enter other minor secret realms once. Unless one were like Linda, changing professions, starting from 0, to re-enter. However, changing professions after level 10 carried great risks, and one careless move could lead to an inability to cultivate. Lulu faced his demand with a stern face. "I won't take orders from anyone. Once my business is done, I will leave White Dove City." Linda sighed. "Fine, so you're an ungrateful beastman." Lulu glared at him furiously. "Beastmen, never ungrateful." Linda changed his tone, noticing Lulu's still somewhat pale face. "The pollution inside you, it's getting worse, isn't it? What are you trying to say?" Lulu clenched her fists. "Beastmen don't respond to threats." Linda raised his eyebrow. "With your current condition, you'll fall within a year." This was a fact, and Lulu did not refute. "But I can save you." Linda smiled, placing his right hand on the table. "This hand has the power to purify the pollution inside a witch. If the purification is thorough, killing the fallen insect within you and breaking the contract with the Demon King is also within reach." This time, Lulu remained silent, a pair of azure eyes sparkling with a troubled light. No one wants to die young and turn into an ugly fallen beast. She looked at Linda indecisively, her pink lips parted, hesitating to speak. "What? Don't you want to be saved?" Linda asked. "I do." "Then show some humility." Linda kept a straight face, determined to break down this cold beastman girl. Only by smoothing out her edges could he command smoothly in the secret realm. "First, sit up straight and put away your claws." This command, akin to taming a beast, made Lulu's nose wrinkle like a wolf, her eyes shining with icy light. Linda ignored her bared teeth and grimace. Beastmen were really like wild beasts sometimes. Once you show fear, they'll take advantage of you. If you want to dominate a beastman, you cannot back down at all. "Being purified by me is a privilege for you," Linda sneered. "There are many witches stronger than you, queuing up for my purification. Yet, I kindly use this power on you, just because you resemble a beastman friend of mine, and out of compassion, I saved your life. And yet you suspect me of ulterior motives? What do you have that's worth my scheming?" Linda stood up, looking down disdainfully at the pale-faced beastman girl. "No looks, no figure. When I saved you before, my hand was almost bitten off. Is this how the beastman race treats its lifesaver?" His scathing words made Lulu bite her teeth in shame, her head drooping and her tail limp. When you think about it, it's really so. With his ability, he should be on good terms with many witches. Those witches, there were definitely some that were more formidable than her. Could it really have been just a casual act to save her? Lulu's head was in a whirl, a complete mess. In the cave, while she was suffering from contamination and feeling weak, the other could have easily taken her life. But he did not do so. For a moment, confusion and shame surged in Lulu's heart. "Thank you." Words slightly awkward, Lulu uttered. She struggled for a long time, seemingly exerting a lot of effort just to say that sentence. Linda nodded, accepting the thanks. Lulu took the chewing gum out of her mouth, threw it into the trash can, and sat properly on the chair, taking on an earnest demeanor for the conversation. "Will you really help me?" She took a deep breath, trying to speak in a calm voice. "It depends on how you behave," Linda replied, while looking down from above and stretching out his finger. "Hold this." Lulu's face changed. This gesture was so demeaning, as if it was not a finger, but something else. He was completely looking down on her. Gratitude was thrown to the back of her mind. A low growl rose from her throat, and her sharp canine teeth were bared, just like an enraged wild wolf. But Linda's expression was blank, just calmly looking at her, just like an ordinary priest ready to treat the girls. Did the patient feel ashamed? But as a priest, Linda, who had already treated many witches, was no longer interested in the mouths of witches. Lulu could not tell if this man was provoking her or simply treating her. "Does it have to be the finger?" Her breathing unsteady, she asked through clenched teeth. "This is the most effective way," Linda said, his gaze clear, free of any distractions. Hesitating for a moment, Lulu looked at Linda's stretched out index and middle finger and said softly, "It seems I misunderstood you." If his actions harbored no intent to insult her, she was willing to apologize. It may not look graceful during the process, but for treatment, it was a necessary measure. Lulu pressed her lips together, trembling slightly as she reached out her hand, closed her eyes. Her thick, pale, blue eyelashes trembled slightly, and she struggled to slightly part her lips to accept Linda's treatment. "Hiss!" Linda's eyes widened, and the sudden sense of comfort made him draw in a breath of cool air. It reminded him of the feeling of a kitten licking his palm, but 10 times more pleasurable. The girl, with her eyes closed, sat in the chair holding his right hand. The remarkable sensation at his fingertips felt like several soft brushes massaging his heart. In front of him, at the distance of an arm, the delightful scent of the girl, just after a bath, wafted towards him, light yet elegant, seemingly mixed with a whiff of Arctic breeze. What Linda's fingers felt, however, was warmth and slickness. Looking down at Lulu holding his right hand, seeking treatment, a strange impulse surged in Linda's heart. He couldn't help but place his other hand on Lulu's head. The pale blue short hair was very smooth, and the fluffy ears were hidden underneath. Extremely comfortable. A strong sense of accomplishment filled Linda's chest, as if a hunter had conquered a wild and untamed Arctic wolf. If he could grab a pair of wolf ears and gallop across the tundra, how splendid that would be. Linda's right hand lit up with the emerald glow of magic power, while Lulu, immersed in the relaxation of purification, focused all her attention on observing the contamination within her body, and thus she didn't notice Linda placing his hand on her head. At that moment, Lulu could clearly feel the pollution-black blood caused by the fallen insect diminishing within her body. Her body also became lighter and more relaxed. She had originally estimated she could hold on for at most one more year, but after receiving treatment from this man, she had gained at least an additional month of life. It had been a long time since she had experienced such a comfortable feeling. A lazy hum, full of youthful femininity, involuntarily escaped from Lulu's throat. Could he not make a sound that could be so easily misunderstood? Linda, with sweat on his brow, quickly withdrew his left hand while Lulu was unaware. Moments later, a wave of fatigue washed over him, which purification had consumed quite a bit of Linda's magic power, and he stopped the spell. Lulu also opened her eyes. "How do you feel?" Linda asked. "Much better," Lulu nodded, speaking candidly. "But it wasn't as effective as the last time." "That's normal. I'm tired and need to rest and recover," Linda said. Lulu did not doubt his words. Through this purification, Linda gained 10 more trust points. System prompt, which Lulu's trust increased by +10, current trust level 43, surface friends. Trust reward earned, 1,000 mystical points. With a bonus of 1,000 points, Linda's total mystical points reached 1317. As for experience points, he now had 300/1500 at level 8. He could level up again. Linda planned to avoid Lulu and wait until he was alone to upgrade. On the other hand, a trust value of 43 would allow him to purify deeper within Lulu next time. According to the witch section, to fully purify, a witch required a trust value of 100. Linda's little hand, at a trust value of 30, could only clean 30 centimeters of the filthy pipes. Beyond that distance, his hand wasn't long enough, and no amount of extra purification would help. That's why Lulu felt that it wasn't as effective as the first purification. Linda needed to make his purifying hand reach 100 centimeters, to stretch all the way inside and grasp the heart of the witch where the fallen insect, the source of the pollution, resided, and crush it in one fell swoop. The fallen insect, a bond between the witch and the demon king. By killing the fallen insect, the contract could be annulled. The witch would then absorb the remains of the fallen insect completely. And thereafter, when she used this power, she would not have to pay a price anymore. At that moment, Lulu, with a keen gaze, said to him, "I've felt your ability, and I will keep it secret. I hope you can help me." Linda nodded. "But in return, before you leave White Dove City, you'll have to be a member of my team and follow my commands." He didn't demand that Lulu stay with him for the long term right away. Take one step forward first, and then there will be a second step, a third. After thinking for a while, Lulu said, "Normal team leader orders are fine. But if I think you're being abnormal or giving some perverted order, I won't hesitate to act. That Kaphne won't be able to stay by your side all the time." "Deal." Linda extended his left hand. "From now on, you are a member of my team." He had reached out to Lulu twice in the Barren Plains and been ignored both times. This time, Lulu looked at the hand in silence for a moment. She stood up and took hold of his palm. Even though it was merely a verbal contract, Lulu would be a member of his team during her time in White Dove City. Linda smiled inwardly. Once the trust value reached 100, he figured she wouldn't be easy to chase away. In his previous life, he had kicked Lulu out of the team. So in this life, he would take her to the top of the world tree. Looking out the window, it was not yet dark. Linda suggested, "The Adventurers Guild is very close by. Let's go register our team now." No objections. Lulu withdrew her hand, putting it back in her pocket, and pulled out a new piece of slime chewing gum to chew on. Kaphne secretly gave Linda a thumbs up. Not only did he put his hand into that beastman's mouth, but he also managed to tame the creature and add it to the team. This hero was more capable than she had imagined. Linda responded with a smile. Lulu was just the beginning. From now on, more and more witches would be purified and join the ranks of the heroes. After the three reached a consensus, they left the inn. Linda took a detour into a blacksmith shop, selling all the demon cores he had collected that day. In total, they brought in 25 gold coins. With the 20 he already had, that made for a total of 45 coins. That was enough for ordinary food and drink for several years, but he was still 55 coins short of the starting capital needed to register a team. Linda looked towards Lulu. The latter took out a level 20 demon core and said, "Consider it repayment for earlier." With this demon core, Linda had a lot more breathing room financially. This Water Series core, coming from a flat-beaked duck beast, belonged to the more common magical creatures. When the owner of the blacksmith shop saw the level 20 demon core, his attitude became much more respectful. In White Dove City, the only ones who had the ability to sell demon cores of this caliber were those few rock-level adventure teams. The level 20 demon core was sold for 500 gold coins, bringing Linda's total assets to 545 gold. With that amount, registering a team was more than manageable. He couldn't help but sneak a peek at the pouch hanging from Lulu's belt. Looking quite bulky, it seemed to contain at least 40 coins or so. In the future, when short on money, he could think of ways to squeeze this rich teammate. "What are you looking at?" Lulu frowned, feeling that there was something off about Linda's gaze. Linda coughed. "Let's go to the Adventurers Guild." Not long before, in the Sparrow District's Adventurers Guild, in the hall, a screen made of crystal stone was surrounded by numerous adventurers, with no space left unoccupied. All around, there was silence, a sea of eyes glued to the screen, captivated by the intense battle, not daring to even breathe too loudly. The scene displayed on the screen was none other than the Snow Goose Adventure Team's live coverage of their 11th floor strategy. Last night, the leader of Snow Goose, Leah, announced that to showcase the strength of the Snow Goose Adventure Team, they would collaborate with the entire Adventurers Guild of White Dove City to provide a public, free broadcast of their battle. This move was intended to both increase their fame and recruit excellent teammates. They hoped that a splendid strategic battle would catch the attention of those genius adventurers. Thirdly, it was also a warning to everyone that should any adventurer be foolish enough to join forces with Linda, they would be making an enemy of the powerful Snow Goose Adventure Team. However, reality was somewhat cruel. The big screen displayed a spacious underground cave. The red-haired girl was covered in blood, gripping her greatsword with a lost and despondent look. Her teammates were also suffering from various degrees of injury. Heavy Hammer Warrior Oru had the worst of it, with one arm broken outward at a 90-degree angle, the stark white bone exposed. A healer, looking dirty and disheveled, was casting a healing spell. The archer, Klein, was in tears, blaming Oru for charging too far ahead. Corona, clutching a short-handled battle axe, was panting and resting against a rock wall. Aiko's pristine white dress was tattered, and at her feet lay a pile of empty magic potion bottles. The underground cave battle had ended with the victory of the Snow Goose Adventure Team, but the price they paid was steep, causing any adventurer who watched this battle to wince in sympathy. Putting aside the injuries of the team members, the precious magic potions and scrolls were thrown out as if they cost nothing, just to forcefully make it through the 11th floor. Even a rock-level adventure team like Snow Goose couldn't sustain such extravagant spending.